Chapter 804. You. The leader of the security guards had a big body and a thick waist, and he was holding a stun baton. However, when he saw Yun Jian walking towards him with a butterfly knife in her hand, he couldn't help but twitch violently. Don't come over. Little girl, I'm telling you, if you come over again, don't blame me for being rude. The security guard said as he took 2 steps back and tightened his grip on the stun baton. Judging from the security guard's appearance and disposition, it was obvious that he was quite afraid of the knife in Yun Jian's hand. Seeing Yun Jian walking slowly towards the company's internal elevator, the security guards didn't dare to go forward. Instead, they were forced back by Yun Jian. There were many staff members walking around in Baiguang Model Agency. When they saw Yun Jian and the other 2 rush in, they couldn't help but stop and watch. However, most of them stood far away. There were many models and artists in Baiguang Model Agency. Generally, famous models and artists wouldn't appear here. Therefore, those who could stand and watch were mostly unknown people. At this moment, these people were all standing far away. Everyone was watching the situation from afar. Some of them were even faintly shocked. Many of the unknown models and artists present were tricked into the agency like Chen Sini and were forced to sign the contract. Therefore, these people stood far away and watched Yun Jian holding the knife slowly walk towards the security guards who had begun to retreat and surrounded Yun Jian and the other 2 in a semicircle. It wasn't hard to see that Yun Jian and the other 2 were here to look for someone. The 3 people's friend was most likely a little girl who was tricked into the agency like some other models and artists. Although Yun Jian was holding the knife and forcing the security guards to retreat, Yun Jian only had 1 knife in her hand. The security guards were holding stun batons in their hands. As long as someone was touched by them, they would lose all their strength. Did this little girl really have the ability to dodge the stun batons in the hands of these security guards? This little girl is so pretty. It's a pity that she's brainless. How dare she come to Baiguang and cause trouble? It's not like no one has come to cause trouble before, but every time, they were all beaten up and chased out. Some staff members were already standing in the distance and whispering to each other. Isn't that so? How can anyone who enters Baiguang leave? In the end, he was still forced to be naked. A soft conversational voice could be heard. The voice paused for a moment, then continued gossiping to the people around him. I heard that a little girl came to Baiguang a while ago, right? She thought that we could really shoot movies and dramas here, but in the end, she was so desperate that she had to take off all her clothes to film. The words that followed were self-evident. The employees of Baiguang actually knew what kind of company this was. But even if they knew, for people like them who were paid, it was naturally better to avoid unnecessary trouble. They would not bother if they could. At this moment, the leading security guard waved to the other 4 security guards beside him. Obviously, Yun Jian, who was standing at the front, seemed to be more difficult to deal with, so they planned to face Yun Jian and the other 2 to deal with Yun Jian. As for the other 2 security guards, they were going to subdue Zhang Xiaofan and Zhang Jian respectively. The 2 security guards standing at the side pounced on Zhang Xiaofan and Zhang Jian respectively. The 3 security guards in front waved their stun batons at the same time and ran toward Yun Jian. Chapter 805. The 2 security guards had already taken the initiative to attack Zhang Xiaofan and Zhang Jian. Zhang Jian had never encountered such a situation before. If Zhang Jian was considered a bully in school, then he was nothing once he left school. Therefore, when he saw the 2 security guards surrounding them, Zhang Xiaofan pulled Zhang Jian away and confronted the 2 security guards. Zhang Xiaofan had learned martial arts from Yun Jian for a long time. Although his current ability was not enough to fight against high-level Secret Service assassins, he could still deal with the 2 security guards. However, the main reason was that Zhang Xiaofan did not have a weapon in his hand. Otherwise, the 2 security guards would not be able to do anything to Zhang Xiaofan. Therefore, Zhang Xiaofan could only use the method that Yun Jian taught him to dodge the attacks of the 2 security guards. Zhang Xiaofan planned to keep the 2 security guards from approaching him. He planned to wait until he found the weakness of the 2 security guards. Then he would attack and win with one move. Zhang Jian was pulled away by Zhang Xiaofan, but he was very worried about Zhang Xiaofan and Yun Jian. Therefore he shouted, "Master Grandmaster, be careful." However, just as Zhang Jian shouted, he saw a figure in front of him. He saw that the 3 security guards who were approaching Yun Jian were still slowly approaching Yun Jian. At the same time, the 3 security guards had already turned on the electric batons in their hands. Just as the three security guards were carefully approaching Yun Jian suddenly turned sideways and ran 2 steps towards the 3 security guards. After running 2 steps, Yun Jian suddenly fell down. Zhang Jian almost wanted to cry out in alarm. However, it was also at this moment that Zhang Jian saw Yun Jian's actions clearly. How was this falling down? Yun Jian had just made a move of falling on her butt. However, before her butt touched the ground, she used her left hand to support herself on the ground. This left hand supported the ground and lifted Yun Jian's entire body. Under the watchful eyes of Zhang Jian and the staff standing far away, Yun Jian tilted the gravity on her left hand and stretched out her bent leg as fast as she could. At this time, the 3 security guards had just arrived in front of Yun Jian. Before the 3 security guards could react, Yun Jian had already stretched out her long legs and used her strength to hook the 3 security guards heavily onto the ground. As soon as Yun Jian hooked the 3 security guards, she had already stood up and ran in the direction where Zhang Xiaofan was struggling to deal with the other 2 security guards. As for the 3 security guards who tried to hit Yun Jian with the stun baton, they fell to the ground with their heads hitting the ground. The 3 security guards were holding stun batons in their hands, and the stun batons were switched on. The moment the 3 security guards fell to the ground, their hands went limp, so the stun batons fell from their hands and the stun batons heavily hit their own bodies. ZZ. The 3 security guards were immediately hit by the stun batons. Their bodies went limp and they could no longer move. However, Yun Jian's move just now was enough to shock everyone. How could this little girl be so powerful? 3 security guards were all subdued by her in an instant. Just when everyone thought of this, a beautiful voice suddenly sounded in their ears. "Get out of the way." Yun Jian let out a sigh. She had already run toward the 2 security guards who were trying to stun Zhang Xiaofan. When Zhang Xiaofan heard Yun Jian's voice, he immediately stepped back. Yun Jian took over Zhang Xiaofeng's position and confronted the 2 security guards. Yun Jian ran 2 steps in that direction. Suddenly, her whole body jumped slightly. In the next second, under everyone's astonished gaze, she jumped up. After Yun Jian jumped up, she somersaulted in the air and stabbed the 2 security guards' hearts with the butterfly knife in her hand. Chapter 806. Zhang Jian, including the staff who were watching from afar, was dumbfounded. This young lady is too amazing. She only used less than 10 seconds to take on 5 people alone. Just as everyone was in shock, one of the staff noticed the 2 security guards' chests. "Look at their chests. That's..." When someone shouted, everyone else shifted their gaze to the 2 security guards who were sent flying by Yun Jian's kick. What happened? At this moment, everyone present turned their heads to look in confusion. Yun Jian's butterfly knife slid across their chests, right in the middle of their hearts. There was a hole in their uniform. Although the hole was not particularly eye-catching, if one were to take a closer look, they would realize that the hole was right in front of their hearts. If Yun Jian had only hit one security guard's chest when she swung the butterfly knife, everyone present might have thought it was a coincidence. However, she had hit both security guards' hearts at the same time. If Yun Jian had stabbed the 2 security guards' chests when she swung the butterfly knife, then these 2 security guards were dead for sure. Everyone present was completely shocked by the scene in front of them. Even Zhang Jian sucked in a breath of cold air. In comparison, Zhang Jian knew Yun Jian's identity. At that moment, Zhang Jian only wanted to clap for Yun Jian. Team Monarch's slashing god lived up to her name. Zhang Jian swore that he would brag to his classmates when he returned to school. Just the thought of it made him excited. The 2 security guards who were lying on the ground felt a chill in their chests. When they got up from the ground, they realized that their uniform had been cut open by Yun Jian's butterfly knife. It was then that the 2 security guards felt their hair stand on end. "Let's go." Yun Jian did not care about the shock around her. She closed the butterfly knife with a flip of her hand. Her expression was calm. She did not even turn around as she spoke to Zhang Xiaofan and Zhang Jian behind her. With that, Yun Jian walked toward the elevator. After what Yun Jian had done just now, who would dare to stop her? Clap, clap. There really were people who stood out to stop them, only to hear 2 claps. A fashionably dressed man walked out of the corridor next to the elevator. As soon as the man appeared, he stood in front of Yun Jian, not letting her pass. This man had a good figure. He was tall, handsome, and had a high nose bridge. He was obviously an idol. However, this was indeed the case. Ah! Oh my God! Am I seeing things? That's Li Hang. I'm not dreaming, am I? Ah, I actually saw Li Hang. It really is him. It's him in person. I've long heard that he's an artist from our company, but I've never seen him in our company. Today, I finally get to see him in person. As soon as this fashionably dressed man with short black curly hair appeared, the female staff members who were originally in a state of watching the show completely lost their voices and screamed. Yun Jian frowned. Girl, just now. You were really amazing. The man who was being chased by the crowd was called Li Hang. At this moment, Li Hang was looking at Yun Jian with interest. Li Hang was an artist from Baiguang Model Agency. Now, because of a TV series that was broadcast some time ago, he became popular all over the country. She was one of the hottest new celebrities at the moment. The scene of Yun Jian knocking down a few security guards just now made Li Hang even more interested. Thus, he stood in front of Yun Jian and looked at her with a wicked smile. Yun Jian, who had caught Li Hang's attention, was the envy of all the girls present. Chapter 807. As Yun Jian spoke, she planned to walk around Li Hang and head for the elevator. Zhang Xiaofan and Yun Jian followed Yun Jian to the elevator. The more time they wasted, the more danger Chen Sini would be in. Actually, even if she didn't say it, Yun Jian and the other two would definitely be able to guess where Chen Sini had been taken and what she would do after disappearing for such a long time. Hearing Yun Jian tell Li Hang to scram, some of the staff present couldn't hold it in anymore. Especially some of Li Hang's female fans, who rushed over after hearing Yun Jian's words. How dare you be so rude to our Hung Hung? Damn woman, don't think that you can play hard to get just because you're pretty. Our Hung Hung will never fall for you. How dare you insult my favorite idol like this? Go to hell. A large group of staff rushed over, as if they wanted to show off in front of Li Hang. They blocked the elevator and refused to let Yun Jian pass. Yun Jian was beautiful to begin with. Her fair and supple skin paired with her curvy figure that was perfectly proportioned. Any man who saw her could not help having the urge to have her all to himself. Li Hang, who was standing on the second floor where the staff were not allowed to enter, came down, because he was completely captivated by Yun Jian. One reason why Li Hang came downstairs was because of Yun Jian, and another reason was that he enjoyed the feeling of being the center of attention. He also knew that he was very outstanding. Because of the recent TV series, he had indeed become popular. So when he saw Yun Jian's actions just now, his interest was doubled, and he wanted to go downstairs and flirt with her. However, he didn't expect her to tell him to scram. Ever since he debuted, Li Hang had always thought that he was handsome. His facial features were surprisingly well-defined and manly, and he was the most popular look for girls. However, Yun Jian actually told him to scram? This was a serious blow to Li Hang's self-esteem. A group of female staff members, who were also Li Hang's female fans, blocked Yun Jian's path in order to express themselves. They didn't want to let Yun Jian pass. Li Hang, on the other hand, felt that he looked very handsome as he ran his fingers through his hair. He walked up to Yun Jian again and spoke to Yun Jian. Hey little girl, I've seen too many of your tricks. Tell me, are you my fan? She probably came here to get my autograph too, right? You were too fierce just now. In order to get an autograph from me, you actually hit the guard. Heh, but since you're chasing me like this, I'll give you an autograph. As he spoke, Li Hang lazily took out a marker from his trouser pocket. He deliberately made this lazy pose, which caused many female fans present to scream. Little girl, where do you want to sign? Did he sign on your clothes? Li Hang said as he reached out his hand. He stared at Yun Jian's voluptuous breasts for 2 seconds and was about to reach out to Yun Jian. Just as Yun Jian was about to make a move, a slender, fair, and well-defined hand grabbed Li Hang's hand that was about to touch the corner of Yun Jian's clothes. Yun Jian turned her head and saw that Ce had already appeared here. At this moment, Ce's hand was grabbing Li Hang's wrist and twisting it. Crack! There was the crisp sound of bones breaking. Li Hang was suddenly pierced by this heart-wrenching pain, and he was suddenly drenched in sweat. Chapter 808. Ce, who had suddenly appeared, grabbed Li Hang's wrist and ruthlessly broke it. When the people present saw this scene, they were all shocked to the point of astonishment. With the crisp crack just now, it was obvious that Li Hang's wrist had been completely broken. Li Hang, who had his wrist broken, held his hand and took 3 steps back in pain. At this moment, Li Hang felt a piercing pain. Who was it? Who dared to speak to him in such a tone? Didn't the other party know that he was the superstar Li Hang? How dare he treat him like this and say such things? Wasn't he afraid of being beaten up by his fans? Li Hang immediately looked up and saw a handsome face that angered both men and gods. Ci's facial features were just right. His handsome face gave people a feeling of disbelief, and his spirited eyes were so deep that they seemed to be bottomless. Even Li Hang, who was also a man, couldn't help but tremble when he saw them. Moreover, Li Hang was at most 1.75 meters tall. He relied entirely on his looks to support himself. Usually, he relied on this delicate and handsome face to abduct girls everywhere. There were many male celebrities who were taller than Li Hang, but there weren't many celebrities who were more handsome than him. Therefore, with this handsome face that he thought was not bad, Li Hang also attracted a large number of female fans. Some time ago, he even made the headlines and became the target of everyone's adoration. Of course, this was all before he met Ce. If it was in the past, how could these female fans still sit still when they saw their idol's wrist broken? This was their idol. Just as these female fans raised their heads and were about to flare up, they saw Ce's shockingly handsome face. For a moment, all the vulgarities that were about to come out of their mouths were all swallowed back down. Ce and Li Hang weren't on the same level at all. Moreover, Ce was not only half a head taller than Li Hang, but Ce's appearance also surpassed 10 or 100 Li Hang's. This made Li Hang suffer a huge loss. This was especially true for Li Hang, who had always prided himself on his good looks. Now that he had suddenly met someone who was taller and more handsome than him, Li Hang's heart immediately sank to the bottom of the valley. In the entertainment industry, people were judged by their looks. You! Why are you here? However, before Yun Jian could finish her sentence, Ce held her hand and led her to the elevator. Zhang Xiaofan, who was behind them, was about to go crazy. When he saw Ce holding Yun Jian's hand and walking forward, he hurriedly followed without a word. Zhang Jian also had eyes. Although he didn't know who Ce was, he quickly followed her. As soon as Ce appeared, he attracted the attention of most of the women. However, due to Ce's cold expression and handsome face, which looked like he would kill anyone who dared to stop him, no one present dared to stop Ce. When Ce pulled Yun Jian over, the female fans who were blocking Yun Jian's way couldn't help but step aside and look at Ce with infatuated eyes. Li Hang glared at Ce with hatred. At the same time, he looked at Yun Jian with infatuation as she disappeared into the elevator. At this moment, Yun Jian had already entered the elevator with Ce. However, at this moment, Zhang Xiaofan and Zhang Jian were still standing in the narrow elevator. As soon as they entered the elevator and the doors closed, Yun Jian said to Zhang Xiaofan, who was standing by the elevator button, 5th floor. Chapter 809. 5th floor. Waiting room. Rewind time to 20 minutes ago. Chen Xinyi had been waiting in the waiting room on the 5th floor for almost half an hour. There were 5 or 6 girls waiting with her. All of them had great figures, great skin, and outstanding looks. Chen Xinyi's hands were intertwined. She was very worried that she wouldn't be chosen. There was a door in front of the waiting room. Behind the door was the audition room. She heard that the audition was like filming. There would even be a cameraman beside her to record her movements. Zhao Zhengmin said that as an actress, she had to look like she was on camera at all times. Therefore, Chen Xinyi was very nervous at this moment. As the waiting room was too noisy, Zhao Zhengmin requested Chen Xinyi to temporarily confiscate all her belongings other than her clothes when she entered the waiting room. Chen Xinyi originally wanted to call Zhang Xiaofan to tell him that she was safe, but now that her phone was confiscated, she couldn't contact Zhang Xiaofan at all. Creak! The door of the audition room was opened again. A girl ran out crying as if she had been greatly wronged. Because the waiting room and the audition room were not connected, Chen Xinyi, who was sitting in the waiting room, couldn't hear the sound of the audition room at all. But then again, how could she hear the contents of the audition? And the girl who ran out just now probably didn't get chosen again. Chen Xinyi took a deep breath and secretly cheered herself on. When she thought about how Zhang Xiaofan would look at her with admiration if she succeeded in the audition and got a supporting role, Chen Xinyi felt excited all over. Where's number 16? At this moment, someone walked out of the audition room and shouted at the door. Chen Sini was number 16. Chen Sini had been looking at her number for a long time, so when she heard someone say her number, she quickly stood up and said, "It's me. Come in." The man who came out to greet them scanned Chen Sini from head to toe with an unscrupulous gaze and said, Yeah. Chen Sini had been waiting for a long time. When she heard that it was her turn, she excitedly followed him in. The moment Chen Sini entered the audition room, the man who had called Chen Sini in locked the door. When Chen Sini saw that the man had locked the door, she couldn't help but turn around to take a look. She felt a little strange in her heart. However, Chen Sini didn't think too much about it. When she walked over, she even looked around. How strange. Why were the doors and windows of this place tightly shut? But Chen Sini didn't think too much about it. "Come here, Xiao Yi, come here." Zhao Zhengmin, who had been sitting there for a long time, waved at Chen Sini affectionately. Chen Sini walked over. There were a few invigilators sitting there, and these invigilators all had shifty eyes. When they saw him enter, these invigilators kept looking at him. Chen Sini felt very uncomfortable, but she still walked over. "Xiaoyi, it's so hot here. Aren't you going to take off your jacket? Look, I'm only wearing a short-sleeved shirt. It's too hot. Don't let it affect your performance." Zhao Jingmin said affectionately. His small eyes narrowed into slits, but they were sizing up Chen Sini. Chapter 8:10. Aya, take it off. What are you afraid of? We're all on the same side. Zhao Zhengmin walked over and helped Chen Sini take off her jacket. Chen Sini had a short-sleeved shirt inside, and it was a pink girl-style shirt. When they were on the phone, Chen Sini knew that Yun Jian would be wearing pink today, so she specially put on a jacket that was very similar to Yun Jian's. Chen Sini even said that she wanted to borrow some of Yun Jian's luck to pass the audition today. Everyone's eyes widened when they saw Chen Sini wearing a pink short-sleeved shirt. Chen Sini naturally didn't notice this. "That's more like it," Zhao Zhengmin said, and even patted Chen Sini's beautiful back affectionately, causing Chen Sini's entire body to stiffen. "All right, Xiao Yi, hurry up and go over." Zhao Zhengmin wanted to pat Chen Sini's beautiful back again, but this time, Chen Sini dodged it without leaving a trace. Chen Sini answered ambiguously and walked in that direction. She didn't know why, but Zhao Jingmin's pat just now made her feel uncomfortable all over. Over here. Over here." One of the invigilators who was sitting in his seat waved his hand at Chen Sini evilly. Chen Sini gritted her teeth and suppressed the disgust in her heart. In the end, she still walked over. "You may begin," one of the invigilators, who was bald and shifty-eyed, said. "This is your male counterpart. His name is Su Song." At this moment, Zhao Jingmin had already walked over and introduced a man who could be considered handsome to Chen Sini. Although this man could be considered handsome, judging from his age, if he wasn't 40, he was at least in his 30s. "Hello." Chen Sini greeted him very politely. This man also responded. "These are your audition lines. There are only 3 short lines. You can remember them without memorizing them." At this moment, Zhao Zhengmin handed Chen Sini a piece of paper with the script on it. "The rest will depend on your performance on the spot," Zhao Zhengmin then reminded her. At this moment, Chen Sini took the script in her hands and stared at it for a while. This script. Chen Sini just glanced at it and she was shocked by the words on it. There were only 3 lines written on it. Don't touch, I beg you." If Chen Sini still didn't know what was going on, then she would have lived life for the past 10 years in vain. This was basically filming. Filming that kind of film. What's wrong? Can we begin? This is such a good opportunity. You have to seize this opportunity. Who knows? If you're eyes. I don't want to film anymore, I want to go home. Chen Sini was at a loss as she blushed and said to the people present. Then, she was about to run out of the door. However, just as Chen Sini ran 2 steps towards the door, Zhao Jingmin grabbed her clothes and stopped Chen Sini. F***CK. I'm talking to you peacefully and you don't want to listen, right? Zhao Zhengmin said as he slapped Chen Sini to the ground. Su Song, get her. Strip her naked. This woman dares to challenge me. Zhao Zhengmin immediately shouted as if he had changed into a different person. Su Song ran over and pinned Chen Sini down on the sofa after hearing that. Chapter 8:11. The directors and invigilators sitting around seemed to be used to Su Song and Zhao Jingmin's actions. At this moment, these people were staring at Chen Sini with naked eyes, as if waiting for Chen Sini to be stripped naked. Get lost! Get lost! Chen Sini had been with Yun Jian for so long. Although she was not so weak that she could be trampled on, she was still no match for the man in front of her. After all, there was a huge difference between the physical strength of an ordinary man and a woman. However, when Su Song threw Chen Sini onto the sofa, Chen Sini was still able to stretch out her leg and kick away Su Song, who was about to pounce on her and take off her clothes. At this moment, Chen Sini wanted to tear Zhao Zhengmin and the others into pieces. At this moment, she was very regretful. How could she really believe Zhao Zhengmin's words? No wonder those girls were crying with their heads down when they left. So, photographer, take a picture of her whole body. Damn, this little girl has grown up. She wants to leave? Hee hee. Does she think that our Baiguang is a place where she can come and go as she pleases? Today, you have to be naked even if you don't want to. Do you think I'll let you do whatever you want? Zhao Zhengmin changed his friendly appearance from before. At this moment, he was like a villain who had revealed his true colors, making people extremely disgusted. Get lost! Chen Sini kicked Su Song's crotch hard. Su Song howled when Chen Sini suddenly kicked his groin. F***ck. Su Song was on the verge of exploding. F***ck your sister, Su Song. Are you eating such **t? You can't even handle a B***tch. Hurry up and do it. Zhao Zhengmin saw that Su Song had not taken off Chen Sini's clothes after being kicked by Chen Sini for so long. He spat out a mouthful of vulgarities and was about to take action himself. Actually, Baiguang Model Agency was an entertainment company on the surface. In fact, it was indeed an entertainment company. However, Baiguang was just a model agency. Basically, the company was made up of models, and those models were only promoted because of the unspoken rules. Other than that, they made money by shooting nude films. Of course, if they knew that they were filming this kind of film, who would be willing to film it? Therefore, Zhao Zhengmin and his group came up with this idea. They used the Baiguang Model Agency's name to recruit a large group of young girls who were interested in acting and brought them here for an audition. In the audition, if the young lady was willing to obediently submit after a few words of persuasion, everyone would be happy. However, if he met a disobedient girl like Chen Sini during the audition, he would directly strip her naked. From her toes to every part of her body, if she still refused to listen to him, he would have Su Song deal with her directly. If he recorded the entire process, would the little girl dare to be disobedient? If she was still disobedient, he would send all these videos to her school. Reality proved that there was no girl who wasn't afraid of these things being exposed. Therefore, with these recordings, they would do whatever Zhao Zhengmin wanted them to do. Even the young ladies who had been recorded by Zhao Zhengmin and the others were forcefully raped by Zhao Zhengmin and the others. Not only that, but those young girls were also asked to take a lot of nude photos and post them on certain websites for sale. Their methods were quite cruel, enough to ruin the life of an innocent young lady. Chen Sini struggled crazily as she sat up. At this moment, Chen Sini only had one word in her mind. Run. She must escape. Otherwise, she would rather die. Damned woman, run. Still running. Let's see how you can run. Zhao Zhengmin grabbed Chen Sini's clothes and gave her another hard slap. Chen Sini was slapped hard. These two slaps had already bruised her face. Chapter 8:12. Chen Sini's kick landed squarely on Zhao Zhengmin's abdomen, causing him to fall to the ground from the sudden force. Chen Sini ignored the pain on her face as she kicked Zhao Zhengmin away and tried to run towards the door. Open the door. As long as she opened the door, the girls outside would hear her. As long as someone ran out, she would be saved. Chen Sini only wanted to run now. She ran with all her might. F***ck. How dare you kick me? You be ***tch. I'm going to F***ck you to death today. Zhao Zhengmin, who was kicked to the ground by Chen Sini, howled in pain. After standing up, Zhao Zhengmin cursed and ran towards Chen Sini with a gloomy face. Chen Sini quickly reached the door with her slender legs. As soon as she reached the door, she reached out her hand and grabbed the door handle. Just as she grabbed the doorknob, she felt someone fiercely pull her clothes and violently drag her back. Zhao Zhengmin's strength was very rough. He dragged Chen Sini all the way and threw Chen Sini onto the sofa. Ah! Chen Sini punched and kicked Zhao Jingmin crazily again. You be *TCH. I'm going to *CK you to death right now. Zhao Jingmin said as he unbuckled his belt and walked towards Chen Sini. *CK off. *CK off. I'm going to kill you. Chen Sini wished that she had Yun Jian's strength. That way, she wouldn't be so helpless. At this moment, Chen Sini's eyes were filled with despair. She now regretted coming here with Zhao Jingmin and even handing over her phone. She knew that Yun Jian was still having dinner at the hotel, so she definitely didn't know that she would encounter such a thing. Chen Sini bit her lips hard at the thought of this, causing her to bleed, but she did not let her tears fall. Chen Sini was prepared to die when she saw Zhao Jingmin unbuckling his belt and walking towards her. She saw a vase not far from her. You be *TCH, I'm going to *CK you. Zhao Jingmin said as he pounced on Chen Sini. At this moment, Chen Sini suddenly pounced towards a long table in the distance. What is she doing? One of the invigilators saw this and couldn't help but exclaim. Quick! Stop her! At this moment, Yun Jian and the others had just walked out of the elevator. Ce was holding Yun Jian's hand. Zhang Xiaofan was already used to it, while Zhang Jian was shocked and silent. He was wondering what kind of man was worthy of Yun's. Wasn't he here? Although he didn't know who he was, he could still feel his. It was enough to make everyone around him tremble. If one were to ask how Ce could find Yun Jian, it was because Yun Jian had her phone with her at all times. As long as one knew the program, it wasn't difficult to track Yun Jian's phone. The Inhun organization was full of talents. How could they not find out such a small thing? Moreover, Yun Jian didn't install an anti-intrusion system, so Ce could easily find out her location. This is the 5th floor. It feels so quiet and empty. Master, where is Sini? Zhang Xiaofan was anxious as soon as he stepped out of the elevator. Turn left at the end, and you'll reach the waiting room, Yun Jian said. Then, Yun Jian and the others ran in that direction. The Baiguang Model Agency's building was indeed huge. The 5th floor was a photography studio for models to shoot advertisements, so it took up a lot of space. At the same time, every room was soundproof, and there was no one in the corridor, so it felt very quiet. Chapter 8:13. Yun Jian and the rest didn't waste any time. Everyone knew that the faster they ran, the safer Chen Sini would be. When they went around the blind spot, they saw a mysterious door that was half open. There was a guard standing next to the door. The guard looked around from time to time. When he saw Yun Jian and the rest, he obviously trembled violently, as if he had been caught red-handed. Damn it! There must be a ghost. Zhang Xiaofan growled and quickly ran forward with Yun Jian and the rest. Stop! This is the audition venue. Unauthorized personnel are not allowed to enter. The guard standing guard at the door like a thief stopped Yun Jian and the rest when he saw them running towards him. Baiguang Model Agency had its own rules. Some places were off-limits to staff members, while others were off-limits to outsiders. However, just by looking at the eyes of the gatekeeper who was guarding the door and not letting anyone in, it could be seen that the gatekeeper didn't want anyone to enter. Otherwise, it was just an audition venue. There wouldn't be guards standing guard at the door. Get lost! Zhang Xiaofan ran in front. Whenever he thought that something might happen to Chen Sini, he would kick the guard's abdomen. You! The guard had just come back to his senses when he was kicked away by Zhang Xiaofan. Zhang Xiaofeng's outburst was terrifying. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes. Her apprentice indeed had potential. The gatekeeper who was sent flying by Zhang Xiaofeng's kick almost spat out a mouthful of blood. At that moment, the guard's heart was about to break down. Zhang Xiaofan took the lead and opened the mysterious door. Yun Jian and Ce followed suit. Zhang Jian was the last to run. Just as he was about to enter the mysterious door, he suddenly stopped and looked at the guard who was kicked away by Zhang Xiaofan. Suddenly, he became interested. Then, Zhang Jian's fat body slammed onto the guard's body. Zhang Jian cursed, "I'll crush you to death, I'll crush you to death. Hey, take this." As soon as he finished speaking, Zhang Jian's butt slammed into the guard's abdomen. Before the gatekeeper could even react from the pain of being kicked away, Zhang Jian's fat body, which weighed at least 160 to 17 kilograms, landed on top of him in the next second. At that moment, the guard fainted on the spot. At that moment, Yun Jian, CE, and CE had already entered the waiting room. Why isn't it done yet? We've been waiting for so long. When they arrived at the waiting room, Yun Jian saw 4 to 5 girls sitting there. They looked to be about the same age as Chen Xinyi. One of them was chatting with a girl beside her. The audition takes at least 20 minutes. I really don't know what's going on inside. It's so boring to wait. It's already good enough that we have the chance to audition. You should be content. 2 girls were chatting by the side. When Yun Jian, CE, and CE walked in, the 4 to 5 girls present all looked over. When they saw CE, their faces instantly flushed red. Ah, you guys. Are you here for the audition too? One of the 2 girls who were chatting shyly looked at CE. She immediately abandoned the other girl and ran over. Have you seen a girl? She's this tall. She has 2 ponytails and is wearing a pink top. Her smile is very sweet. Zhang Xiaofan stood out and asked urgently. In order to look unique today, Chen Xinyi purposely tied 2 ponytails and wore a pink top. She looked very cute. Chapter 8:14. After saying that, the girl who saw CE blush shyly glanced at CE. Even though CE had not spoken a word throughout the conversation and his gaze was fixed on Yun Jian could not help but feel a sense of relief. These girls would still keep their eyes glued to CE. It could not be helped. After all, CE's looks were too striking. Sit down and wait for a while. She will definitely come out soon. The girl glanced at CE and said to Yun Jian and the other 2 girls, as well as Zhang Jian, who had just walked in. However, before the girl could finish her sentence, Zhang Xiaofan and Yun Jian had already walked out of the audition room. As Yun Jian walked towards the audition room, CE naturally followed behind her and stayed close to Yun Jian. When the girl saw that both of them had left, she felt unhappy. After all, she was pretty, but this handsome guy didn't even look at her. Hence, the girl followed them. Lan, what are you doing? The girl who had been talking to the girl asked as she pulled her back. I'm just following them to take a look. The girl named Lan let go of the other girl's hand and walked towards Yun Jian and CE. This girl's name was Jiang Lan. She was quite pretty and had some good looks. She was the kind of girl who was tall and beautiful. When Jiang Lan saw that CE was ignoring her, she pursed her lips and followed them. Don't go over there. The audition room is still going on. It's not right for you to do this. Jiang Lan saw that CE had turned his head slightly, so she swallowed her words. However, CE wasn't looking at Jiang Lan. Instead, he was looking at Yun Jian. Open the door. Yun Jian ignored Jiang Lan and said to Zhang Xiaofan. I told you not to open the door. You'll affect the audition. That's immoral. CE was obviously not an immoral person. Jiang Lan was unhappy with Yun Jian, so she stood behind them and shouted. Even an idiot could see that CE's doting gaze was because of Yun Jian. Hence, the more Jiang Lan looked at Yun Jian, the more unhappy she felt. While Jiang Lan was still talking, Zhang Xiaofan had already reached out to open the audition room's door. Click! Zhang Xiaofan frowned and quickly turned to Yun Jian. Master, the door is locked. This young man called her master? Because CE was looking at Yun Jian with doting eyes, Jiang Lan couldn't help but pay more attention to Yun Jian. Obviously, Jiang Lan had taken a liking to CE and realized that CE's focus was on Yun Jian. What surprised Jiang Lan was that Zhang Xiaofan actually called Yun Jian master. Master? This girl was really interesting. She actually learned how to host a house party like a child. Jiang Lan couldn't help but laugh at Yun Jian in her heart. I'll do it. Just as Jiang Lan was about to say something, Yun Jian had already stood in front of Zhang Xiaofan. She reached out her hand and there was a metal wire in it. TSK, this metal wire. Are you going to use this to pry open the door? Do you think you're a trained agent in the military? To have this book. Jiang Lan couldn't help but speak up. Gotcha. Before Jiang Lan could finish her sentence, Yun Jian had already opened the door with a metal wire. Jiang Lan instantly shut her mouth. Chapter 8:15. Just as Jiang Lan was about to say something, Yun Jian had already kicked the door of the audition room open. You. Jiang Lanlan had just uttered a word when Yun Jian had already walked into the room. Once the soundproof door was kicked open, the sound from inside the room could be heard everywhere. F***CK. You bunch of idiots. Who told you to stop her? You even let her commit suicide. What should we do now? What should we do now? Zhao Jingmin's voice was like waves of waves that splashed into everyone's ears. However, when his voice reached the door, a few girls who were standing at the door immediately stood up. Suicide? What's going on? Hearing the word suicide, Yun Jian and Zhang Xiaofeng dashed into the room. Ci's eyes flickered slightly, but she also entered the room as fast as she could. When Jiang Lanlan heard the sound from inside, she frowned suspiciously and followed them in. Yun Jian and Zhang Xiaofeng were walking in front, but they were the first to see the scene in front of them. The audition room was very big, but it was dark. The curtains and windows were all closed, giving people the impression that they were standing in a pitch-black environment. Fortunately, the lights were still on, but because the sky was still bright outside, the lights didn't appear bright. Instead, it gave people the feeling that they were in a dark environment. However, Yun Jian and Zhang Xiaofeng weren't attracted by this scene. What attracted them was Chen Xini, who was lying in a pool of blood. From afar, they could see a broken vase on the ground. The vase was shattered into pieces, and one of the pieces was in Chen Xini's hand. This piece of vase had already cut through Chen Xini's left aorta, and Chen Xini's aorta was gushing with blood. Even if the people in the room didn't deliberately think about it, they could still imagine what had happened. Chen Xini was lying on the ground, but her stubborn gaze touched everyone's heart. A warrior would rather be killed than humiliated. Who said that only men could do this? She, Chen Xini, did the same. He would rather die than submit to humiliation. The moment she saw Yun Jian, Zhang Xiaofeng, and the others, Chen Xini's vision gradually became blurry. Her eyelids were struggling to move up and down, and in the end, she closed her eyes. How nice. Zhang Xiaofeng did not give up on her, and Xiao Jian was here too. When they saw this scene, Yun Jian and Zhang Xiaofeng's eyes instantly turned bloodshot. They had the feeling of wanting to tear the person in front of them apart. When Zhao Zhengmin and the others suddenly saw Yun Jian and the others in the audition room, he was so scared that his whole body trembled slightly. Why is she here? Zhao Zhengmin watched as Yun Jian and Zhang Xiaofeng ran over. For some reason, his heart trembled violently. It felt like his heart was being pounded hard by something, making it hard to breathe. In spite of it, Yun Jian and Zhang Xiaofeng ignored Zhao Zhengmin and the others, bypassing them and going straight for Chen Xini. It was fortunate that Chen Xini had just cut her aorta. There was still time for Yun Jian and Zhang Xiaofeng to make it. Hiss, hiss. Yun Jian ran to the curtain and pulled it open immediately, tearing off 2 long pieces of cloth. Don't touch her yet, I'll do it. Yun Jian said as she ran over and lifted Chen Xini's wrist gently, pressing one of the pieces of cloth on Chen Xini's wrist where it was bleeding. Then, Yun Jian used the other piece of curtain cloth as a rope and tied it near Chen Xini's heart joint. Chapter 8:16. Carry her, I'll send you to the hospital, Ce said to Zhang Xiaofeng briefly. Keep an eye on the wound on her wrist. As long as it doesn't bleed, it won't be too late to send her to the hospital. Don't be afraid, Yun Jian said. Her eyes were bloodshot as she looked at Chen Xini's wound. Chen Xini's face was bruised as if she had been slapped twice. Apart from that, Chen Xini's pink girlish jacket was also slightly wrinkled. It seemed like she had put up a huge struggle just to avoid being humiliated. Let me carry her, I'm strong. Zhang Jian saw this and hurried over. With the help of Zhang Xiaofeng and Yun Jian, he carried Chen Xini's thin and weak body on his back. Then, Ce led Zhang Jian downstairs with Zhang Xiaofeng. Yun Jian didn't follow them to the hospital. She knew that Chen Xini would be fine. She had just bandaged Chen Xini's wound. As long as she sent her to the hospital in time, she would be fine. Moreover, Chen Xini had just cut her wrist and didn't seem to have lost too much blood. Ce drove. Yun Jian was assured that he would be able to send Chen Xini to the hospital in the shortest time possible. Yun Jian had always been a vengeful person, so she didn't leave. Slow down, softer, softer. Zhang Xiaofeng looked at Chen Xini's sorry state. On his handsome face, his dark eyes were covered by a layer of haze. Chen Xini had played with him since they were young. To Zhang Xiaofeng, although Chen Xini was his cousin, They were as close as real siblings. At this moment, Zhang Xiaofan was worried about Chen Xinyi's injury and couldn't care less about revenge. Watching Zhang Jian carry Chen Xinyi out while Zhang Xiaofan guarded them from the side while Ci got down to drive the car, the three of them disappeared from the place. Yun Jian was squatting on the ground, but now she slowly stood up. The girls who were waiting in the waiting room saw Zhang Jian carrying Chen Xinyi out of the audition room with her clothes stained with blood. They were terrified and bewildered. But because of their bewilderment, they ran into the audition room. What was going on? Why did the girl who went in just now leave with blood all over her body? When the girl who was with Zhang Lanlan saw that Zhang Lanlan had followed her into the audition room, she frowned and walked over suspiciously. Lanlan, what's going on? Why did that girl leave with blood all over her body? She looked so scary. The girl shuddered and walked towards Zhang Lanlan. I don't know. Zhang Lanlan shuddered and swallowed her saliva. Looking at the horrifying scene, Zhang Lanlan could not care less that Ce, whom she had a good impression of at first sight, had left. This was the first time the girls saw someone covered in blood. Usually, they would be scared to death even if they were slightly injured. But when they saw Chen Xinyi leave with blood all over her body, they shuddered in fear. At this moment, Yun Jian was standing beside the curtain with her back facing Zhao Zhengmin and the girls. At this moment, she slowly turned her head around, and the cruel killing intent on her face was on the verge of erupting. Everyone saw that her eyes were covered with blood vessels. Her eyes turned from black to slightly red. Everyone present couldn't help but shiver when they saw this. Chapter 8:17. Zhao Jingmin's whole body was trembling. He didn't know why, but Yun Jian gave him a different feeling than before. When he met Yun Jian in the bridal shop, Zhao Jingmin's eyes lit up. Because at that time, Yun Jian really looked like an ordinary beautiful girl, so youthful and full of vitality. She really looked like a female student in school, giving people an indescribable and suffocating sense of beauty. That was why Zhao Zhengmin kept pestering Yun Jian. Because to Zhao Zhengmin, whether it was him or his company, they really needed a pure and beautiful girl like Yun Jian. Moreover, there were so many girls auditioning today. In fact, Zhao Jingmin only wanted to choose the purest one to be the female lead of the new movie. The new movie this time was called Pure and Innocent Schoolgirl. However, the word pure came with double quotes. That's right, Zhao Jingmin and his group specialized in abducting young girls to shoot nude films and AV. Moreover, the girls he abducted were all pure and innocent girls who had dreams of becoming big stars. At that time, Zhao Jingmin felt that it was a pity that Yun Jian didn't agree to join because he thought that if Yun Jian had come to the audition, then the female lead of the movie would have been none other than her. However, Zhao Jingmin was already very satisfied with Chen Xinyi. Because Chen Xinyi's appearance was also clean and sweet, especially in this group of girls, she stood out. Moreover, he tried his best to make her stay. However, he didn't expect that Chen Xinyi would have the courage to commit suicide in order to avoid being humiliated. In this day and age, there were very few people who would commit suicide in order to protect their innocence. No one was willing to be forced to submit, but in the face of death, innocence didn't seem so important to many people. Just now, Zhao Jingmin's slight tremble had already been noticed by Yun Jian. She slightly curved her lips into a smile. This smile was so eerie and strange that it made people unable to breathe. Zhang Lanlan and the other girls who were watching from afar were also frightened. At this time, the girls huddled together, not daring to walk or go forward. Who slapped her? Yun Jian calmly repeated this sentence again. Tell me. Then, she raised her voice all of a sudden. Her sudden high-pitched voice made everyone shudder in fright. Then she added, You're not going to say it? Fine, then I'll kill all of you. Just as Yun Jian said this, he saw a shifty-eyed invigilator stand out. He pointed his finger at Zhao Jingmin and was so scared that he confessed everything. It's him, it's him, it's him. Perhaps because the door was locked, or Yun Jian could still enter, or her aura was too strong, or her aura, but everyone's aura was too strong. So, very well. Yun Jian snickered, sending a chill down everyone's spine. Left or right hand? Yun Jian raised her eyes to look at Zhao Zhengmin again. The words that came out of her mouth had a hint of evilness that could not be ignored. This time, Zhao Jingmin was completely scared. He was scared of Yun Jian's frightening tone. Right hand, this is all a misunderstanding. It's not what you think. I think we can have a good talk. Before Zhao Jingmin could finish, Yun Jian flew in front of Zhao Jingmin under everyone's gaze. She lifted her leg, and that slender leg of hers went over his head. With one kick, she viciously kicked Zhao Jingmin from the back. Zhao Jingmin's front body fell to the ground. He had just fallen to the ground, and his two hands were close to the ground. Yun Jian was right behind him. She kicked Zhao Jingmin's right wrist, and with a flip of her hand, a butterfly knife appeared in her hand. Hua! Yun Jian was like chopping pork ribs. Her knife viciously stabbed into Zhao Jingmin's right hand's finger. Ah! Then came Zhao Jingmin's desperate howl that sounded like a pig being slaughtered. Chapter 8:18. It was chopped. Zhao Jingmin's thumb was chopped off by Yun Jian just like that. That's a finger we're talking about. Moreover, there were bones on his fingers. Yun Jian chopped off Zhao Jingmin's finger like she was chopping up a pig's bone with just one slash. How much strength did she need to do that? Everyone present was dumbfounded. Their eyes were wide open, and their mouths formed an O shape. She was still a young girl. After chopping off Zhao Jingmin's right thumb, there wasn't even the slightest trace of fear on his face. Yun Jian's face was calm. She just looked at Zhao Jingmin, whose thumb was chopped off by her. There was not even a trace of fear on her face. Everyone present saw this scene and had goosebumps all over their bodies. At the moment when everyone was surprised, Yun Jian's voice was heard again. You slapped her twice, didn't you? Yun Jian did not ask this question as a question, but said it in an affirmative tone. There were two palm prints on Chen Xinyi's face. Yun Jian was observant and could naturally see it. Zhao Jingmin's right wrist was still being stepped on by Yun Jian, but his whole body was rolling on the ground in pain. At this moment, Zhao Jingmin's mind was blank. His perception had been covered by the word, pain. Pain, endless pain. Zhao Jingmin regretted it very much at this moment. How did he provoke Yun Jian, the devil? Yes, she was the devil. The devil. She was the Grim Reaper from hell. Ha! Yun Jian snorted softly. This snort made everyone's hair stand again. 2 slaps, 2 of your fingers. As soon as Yun Jian finished speaking, she stepped on Zhao Jingmin's wrist, bent down and chopped down with the butterfly knife. Ah! Zhao Jingmin was in so much pain that he could not feel anything. At this moment, he was rolling on the ground and only one word came out of his mouth. Ah! Ah! Everyone present couldn't help but feel a chill run down their spines. Yun Jian's brutality sent chills down everyone's spines. Pooh! Zhao Jingmin's index finger was also chopped off by Yun Jian. However, the moment his index finger was chopped off by Yun Jian let go of Zhao Jingmin's wrist. At the same time, she lifted her foot and stepped on the 2 bloody fingers. Just looking at them from a distance was enough to make one feel scared. Piff. Yun Jian stepped on the 2 fingers and crushed them like mud. When the invigilators and Jiang Lanlan saw this scene from afar, they were so terrified that they wanted to escape through the door. But in the end, under the pressure of Yun Jian, no one dared to take the lead and run. He was afraid that he would become the next Zhao Jingmin. At this time, Zhao Jingmin had already fainted from the pain. Do you guys want to taste death too? Yun Jian waved the 2 butterfly knives. She turned around and walked towards the invigilators and the director. No, it has nothing to do with us. No, please. We won't dare to do it again. These invigilators and directors were so scared that their bodies were trembling. At this moment, all of them were trembling uncontrollably. Jiang Lanlan was dumbfounded. She didn't expect Yun Jian to be so cruel. How could a good girl like Jiang Lanlan have seen such a bloody scene? She was even secretly glad that she didn't provoke Yun Jian. Chapter 8:19. Retracting her evil smile, Yun Jian turned around and walked towards the group of examiners. Why? Don't come over. The group of examiners had long been scared half to death. They had all seen how Yun Jian dealt with Zhao Jingmin just now. So cruel. And this little girl's skills were so powerful. Not only were her skills good, but her methods were also extremely cruel. The people present were all ordinary people, and they had never seen such terrifying skills before. Thus, at this moment, they were all scared witless. At this moment, the group of examiners wished they could tear Zhao Jingmin to shreds. Where did Zhao Zhengmin, this guy, bring such a terrifying person? She was going to get them all killed. How could Yun Jian listen to the examiner's words? She smiled maliciously, and just as she took 2 steps towards the examiners, a person suddenly walked in through the door. Young madam. Looking at Yun Jian, Mo Sen respectfully called out. Young madam? Even the examiners who were still nervous and scared, as well as Zhang Lanlan and the others who were about to faint from the terrifying visual impact, were all shocked and bewildered. There was actually such a title in this day and age. Young madam? But the people present didn't think much of it. Yun Jian looked up at Mo Sen, and she knew that he must have been sent by CE. Yun Jian lightly pursed her lips, and then her eyebrows lightly raised. Mo Sen had already turned his gaze towards the examiners. Young madam, do you need me to kill them for you? Mo Sen said, and a murderous intent surged from his brows. When CE sent him the message, Mo Sen had just found Adam and Lan Su who were taking a walk. The moment he saw CE's message, he immediately rushed here. No. Yun Jian frivolously said. The examiners fiercely let out a sigh of relief. Although Yun Jian had just chopped off 2 of Zhao Zhengmin's fingers, fortunately, only Zhao Zhengmin and Su Song had attacked Chen Sini. If Yun Jian still refused to stop, they would sell Su Song out and protect themselves. Moreover, murder was illegal. Yun Jian naturally couldn't kill them. What the invigilators were afraid of was that this was an enclosed space. Yun Jian was so powerful that no one could run out to call the police. Under such circumstances, if Yun Jian wanted to kill them, it would be no different from crushing an ant. This matter is our fault. We didn't know that she was your friend. We promised to delete all the recordings of your friend. We hope that you can forgive us. The thievish-looking invigilator stood up and said. He thought that Yun Jian had already forgiven them. But who knew that Yun Jian didn't pay any attention to the invigilator's words at all? She turned her head sideways, showing her delicate and beautiful little face to the few of them. Mo Sen, chop off everyone's genitals here and feed them to the dogs. Yun Jian's words were simply murderous. In an instant, the faces of the invigilators turned pale. Yes. It was also at this moment that Mo Sen answered and stepped forward. At this moment, Mo Sen was already holding a small knife in his hand. Always remember the young master's instructions. Whatever Yun Jian said was the young master's order. Mo Sen walked towards the group of invigilators. Seeing this, Yun Jian also walked towards the door. Just as she walked to the door before she walked out, Yun Jian turned her head and glanced at Zhang Lanlan and the others. Still not leaving? Are you waiting for death? Chapter 8:20. After Zhang Lanlan and the rest fled, Yun Jian stepped out of the audition room as well. Just as she stepped out of the audition room, Yun Jian heard the screams that sounded like pigs being slaughtered in the slaughterhouse. The people in the room had ruined the lives of countless innocent girls. It was not enough even if they died 1,000 times. The reason Yun Jian was so cruel to them was because she saw them. She was reminded of Chen Sini who was covered in blood. If she had not made it here in time, what would have happened to Chen Sini now? Yun Jian had already regarded Chen Sini as her most important friend apart from Lu Fian in her life, so she would not allow anything to happen to her. Once she recalled how pathetic Chen Sini looked when she was brought out, Yun Jian had the urge to kill everyone in the room. However, they would feel worse than death if she crippled them. She would let them experience what it felt like to wish they were dead if they offended someone Yun Jian cared about. Just as she stepped out of the audition room, Yun Jian turned her head slightly and left a sentence that plunged everyone in the room into hell. Baiguang Model Agency will become a thing of the past because of you. Yun Jian left right after that. Just as she stepped out of Baiguang Model Agency, Yun Jian called a luring demon who was overseas. Demonis was the chairman of the company that she had founded in her previous life. Even in the entire world, Demonis had absolute authority. Yun Jian only spoke briefly after she called a luring demon. Country Z's Longmen City's Baiguang Model Agency. I don't want to see it in Longmen City tomorrow. Hearing Yun Jian's words, a luring demon teased. Who's so daring to offend our big boss? Haha. As she spoke, she agreed to Yun Jian's request. Yun Jian hung up after a short conversation with a luring demon. A luring demon was a very capable person. When Yun Jian first founded the company, she had started from scratch. From the initial startup company to the current existence of the top global multinational company, Demonis was undoubtedly a very shrewd businesswoman. After hanging up the call with the witch, Yun Jian called the police station and directly reported Zhao Zhengmin and the others' evil deeds. The police station that received the report immediately sent someone to investigate. In the end, Zhao Zhengmin and his group were all captured and thrown into prison. The group of police officers who made the arrest were shocked for a while. How could this group of despicable people who forced girls to film obscenities all have their manhood chopped off? One of them even had 2 fingers chopped off. Did he offend someone? The person they had offended had arrived at the entrance of Longmen City's largest people's hospital. Longmen City People's Hospital. As soon as Yun Jian walked in, she walked to the front desk of the hospital. Before the man reached the front desk, Yun Jian heard the voices of the female nurses standing at the front desk discussing the situation. Did you see that? A girl just committed suicide and was sent to the hospital. Suicide? Oh my God. Girls nowadays don't know how to love themselves. Isn't that so? She's so young and she's learning how to commit suicide. I think it's another girl who was hurt by love. Kids nowadays are really open-minded. The nurses could not help chatting about what they had seen just now as they stood together. Just as they spoke, a voice came from behind them. Where's the girl you're talking about now? The nurses were startled by the voice. One of them even yelled, "Oh my God!" Chapter 821. As she spoke, the nurse appeared to be afraid. What had the nurses and doctors in the hospital not seen before? The nurses in front of her looked quite young. They were probably inexperienced, which was why they looked a little flustered. Yun Jian turned around and ran towards the emergency room after hearing the nurse's words. After taking 2 steps, she stopped and turned around to look at the group of nurses. She didn't commit suicide because she was hurt by love. Don't gossip behind people's backs. After Yun Jian finished speaking, she turned around and ran towards the emergency room, ignoring the nurses' reactions. The nurses who stood there were stunned for a few seconds. One of them even spat out, "What are you talking about? Is she crazy? Who knows? Forget it, forget it. Don't talk about it. Hurry up and get to work." Another nurse added. Yun Jian had already arrived at the emergency room's entrance. Just as she ran into the emergency room, she saw Zhang Xiaofan and Zhang Jian sitting at the entrance. CE was standing beside the emergency room's bench. "How is he?" Yun Jian walked over and asked. "He's still being resuscitated." Zhang Xiaofan covered his forehead with his hand and said in a muffled voice. Even though she couldn't see Zhang Xiaofang's expression, she could tell that Zhang Xiaofang's expression was definitely one of misery. "He'll be fine," Yun Jian walked over and said softly. There were 3 rows of benches beside the emergency room. Zhang Xiaofan and Zhang Jian each sat on one, leaving 1 empty seat. CE pulled Yun Jian and discreetly made Yun Jian sit down. He himself was standing. 2 hours later, the emergency room's lights finally went off. When the doctor opened the door and came out, Zhang Xiaofang's heart almost stopped. "Doctor, how is it?" Zhang Xiaofang was the first to stand up and walk over. "Fortunately, you sent him here in time. The hospital happened to have type A blood and he's still receiving blood transfusions. However, his condition has mostly stabilized and he's fine now." The doctor's words were even more pleasant than the sound of nature to everyone's ears. Zhang Xiaofang heaved a sigh of relief. Yun Jian already knew this would happen, so she wasn't surprised. Half an hour later, Chen Xinyi was transferred to the ward. Chen Xinyi hadn't woken up yet. Although she was out of danger, she was still seriously injured. If the blood rejected her during the blood transfusion, she would die if it wasn't discovered in time. Therefore, they needed someone to keep watch at night. No matter what, Zhang Xiaofang said that he had to keep watch tonight. Besides, they would definitely inform Chen Xinyi's parents about such a big thing. Yun Jian went home after making sure that Chen Xinyi would be fine. Then, she asked Zhang Xiaofang to call her immediately if anything happened. Zhang Jian carried Chen Xinyi downstairs and to the hospital today. He was careful and fast. He deserved a lot of credit. Indeed, having great strength had its benefits. Now that he heard that Chen Xinyi was fine, he went home with peace of mind. When Yun Jian and CE arrived home, it was already past 10 at night. Xiao Yunju and the other two had already gone to bed. Hearing Yun Jian and Si Yi's voices, Qin Yiru put on a jacket and stood at the stairs. You're back? Go upstairs and rest, Qin Yiru said. Okay, Mom. Yun Jian nodded and went upstairs with Si Yi. The moment Yun Jian went upstairs, Si Yi pulled her to his room. The next morning, just before dawn. Since her rebirth, Yun Jian didn't get up for a morning run. Instead, she rushed to the hospital as soon as she woke up. Chapter 822. Before arriving at the People's Hospital of Longmen City, Yun Jian stopped in front of a fruit shop near the hospital. Young lady, do you want to buy anything? The shop owner hurried out to call out when he saw the arrival of business. He saw Yun Jian glancing at his stall a few times as if she could not decide which fruit to buy. The shop owner was very good at doing business. He pointed at a fruit basket not far away and said to Yun Jian, Young lady, if you really don't know what to give, why don't you just give a fruit basket? There's all kinds of fruits in this basket. There's bound to be something you like. The shop owner was very good at reading people. He could tell that Yun Jian was buying fruits as a gift at first glance. Yun Jian pressed her lips together and took the fruit basket. It's a total of 28 yuan, the shop owner said as he rubbed his hands. Prices were relatively low in this era, so 28 yuan for a fruit basket was considered expensive. Before Yun Jian could take out the money, Si had already taken out a bank card from her pants pocket and passed it to the shop owner. Buy card. The shop owner was dumbfounded by the bank card Si gave him. The shop owner reacted quickly and forced a smile. Young man, we don't accept cards in our shop. Do you have cash? The shop owner's tone was a little awkward. I do. Yun Jian glanced at the shop owner with a smile and took out a 100 yuan note from her pants pocket as she spoke. Here. Yun Jian passed it to the shop owner. The shop owner felt like he was about to faint when he saw the 100 yuan note. It was such a huge amount of money. Did he not have enough loose change in his shop? Hold on, I'll go to the shop opposite to give you the change, the shop owner said and was about to go to the shop opposite to see if he could get some loose change. No need, Yun Jian said. The shop owner was dumbfounded by Yun Jian's reply. She had loose change? This was the shop owner's first thought. There's no need to look for it, Yun Jian said in the next second. With that, she walked towards the hospital with Si. This caused the shop owner to be dumbfounded. The remaining money could be used to buy 3 or 4 blue fruits. They didn't want it anymore. These two young lovers were really rich. The shop owner was very surprised, but he still shook his head helplessly. Suddenly, he couldn't help but feel that he had made a big deal today. Yun Jian was in a hurry to go to the hospital to see Chen Sini, so she took big strides. 1 step from Si Yi's long legs was equivalent to 2 steps from Yun Jian, so Yun Jian quickened her pace. When they arrived at the door of Chen Sini's ward, they looked in from the outside and saw that there were already many people standing inside. Since something like this had happened to Chen Sini, it was obvious that the culprit must be Chen Sini's relatives. It was then that Yun Jian and Si Yi walked in. Just as Yun Jian stepped through the door, she saw Chen Sini, who had already woken up, being fed chicken soup by a slim and young-looking woman. Chen Sini looked a little weak, but she had recovered a lot of energy. When she saw Yun Jian walk in, Chen Sini called out quickly, Jian Jian, you're here. Her voice was soft, but Yun Jian heard her loud and clear. Amen. Yun Jian nodded and entered the room under everyone's watchful eyes. Mom, this is my friend. She saved me yesterday, Chen Sini told the young-looking woman who was feeding her chicken soup. Chapter 823. This young-looking woman was actually in her 40s. Because she took good care of herself, she looked very young. This young woman was called Xia, Chen Sini's mother. She was beautiful, and her appearance was also outstanding. Of course, because she was old, her appearance would definitely deteriorate. Did you save Xiaoyi? Thank you so much. Xia looked at Yun Jian and quickly put down the chicken soup in her hand. She walked over and thanked Yun Jian profusely. Sini is my friend. So, it was natural that she saved her. Yun Jian pursed her lips and said this. Although she heard Yun Jian's words, Xia was still very grateful to Yun Jian. After Xia thanked Yun Jian, A middle-aged man walked over from the group of people in the room. This middle-aged man was Xia's husband, Chen Xinyi's father. His name was Chen Zhenchuan. After Xia thanked him profusely, Chen Zhenchuan walked over and bowed deeply to Yun Jian. Xiao Yi is the child that we have doted on since she was young. If anything happens to her, then we really... Please accept our thanks. Zhang Xiaofan, who was standing at the side, walked over and waved his fist. He said with interest, Hey, we're all on the same side. Hee, I haven't had the chance to tell you guys. This is my master, Yun Jian. I told you guys before that I'm so good now because I learned from her. As he spoke, the group of people around him smiled slightly. It was as if they were affected by Zhang Xiaofeng's lively atmosphere. Yun Jian also smiled politely to show her friendliness. She wasn't particularly good at being polite to people. It's really infuriating. That Baiguang model agency is actually doing this kind of shady business. If you ask me, Zhenchuan, you should destroy it. This room was filled with Chen Xinyi's relatives. At this moment, a man with a beer belly stood up and suggested to Chen Zhenchuan. Chen Zhenchuan was a rich boss, and he was as capable as Zhang Xiaofeng's father. Chen Zhenchuan also owned a company. He was a talent himself, and the company had recruited many talents. Therefore, Chen Zhenchuan's company was quite big. Although Chen Zhenchuan's company was big, it couldn't bring down Baiguang Model Agency. This was because Baiguang Model Agency was not something that could be destroyed by ordinary people. As for the relatives who came to visit Chen Xinyi, it was purely because Chen Zhenchuan was rich that they came to visit Chen Xinyi. If it weren't for the fact that Chen Zhenchuan's family owned a large company, how could these relatives all come to visit Chen Xinyi on the morning of her accident? He reckoned that all of them had already run far away. Just as the man with the beer belly finished speaking, another man who looked more experienced rushed to flatter Chen Zhenchuan. Don't spout nonsense. When I was reading the newspaper this morning, I saw that Baiguang Model Agency was banned for some reason. And it must have been done by someone. It's such a big company. The newspaper headline just 2 days ago said that Baiguang Model Agency was the most capable new company representative, but it was banned this morning. What does this mean? It must have offended someone. As the experienced man spoke, he changed the topic to Chen Zhenchuan. If you ask me, only you, Chen Zhenchuan, can run Baiguang Model Agency. For a big boss like you, a mere Baiguang Model Agency should be a piece of cake, right? These relatives who were lying through their teeth were the funniest. Chen Zhenchuan hadn't said anything yet, but they were already talking about countless topics. Baiguang Model Agency was banned? Master, did you do it? Zhang Xiaofeng was shocked for a while. Then he turned to look at Yun Jian and asked. Zhang Xiaofeng's voice stunned the two people who were flattering Chen Zhenchuan. Chapter 824. Baiguang Model Agency was considered a big shot in the eyes of the people present. It was one of the top companies in the country, let alone in Longmen City. As for why the two men had boasted about a mere Baiguang Model Agency, it was because they thought too highly of Chen Zhenchuan's company. They had no idea how big Chen Zhenchuan's company was and how it was better than Baiguang Model Agency. They had spouted everything just to flatter him. What they did not know was that their words sounded like they were praising Chen Zhenchuan on the surface. But in fact, Chen Zhenchuan was not even willing to look at them. It was because people like them were not likable. When Zhang Xiaofeng turned to look at Yun Jian and asked if Baiguang Model Agency was the one who banned Yun Jian, everyone present was dumbfounded. Then, the old man with the beer belly and the other man who looked rather experienced held their stomachs and started laughing loudly. Ha ha ha. It was only when they were done laughing that they looked at Yun Jian oddly. What? Did I hear wrongly? You're saying that she's the one who banned Baiguang Model Agency? Are you kidding me? The man with the beer belly laughed while holding his stomach. He then turned to look at Yun Jian and asked with a scornful gaze, Little girl, how old are you? You're in junior high, aren't you? As he spoke, the man with the beer belly turned to look at Chen Zhenchuan, the sneer on his face vanishing instantly. Zhenchuan, just tell me. Your daughter was bullied by Baiguang Model Agency. How could you let those people go? You're really something though. You've built a company by yourself and even banned a big company like Baiguang Model Agency. You're really something, kid. The man with the beer belly spoke to Yun Jian with contempt, but when he turned to talk to Chen Zhenchuan, His face was filled with admiration. There was a sense of flattery in his admiration that could not be ignored. I'm not the one who banned Baiguang Model Agency. I don't have that ability. Chen Zhenchuan sighed and clenched his fists. His daughter had been bullied by Baiguang Model Agency, but he didn't have the ability to personally shut Baiguang Model Agency out. Although this feeling was unpleasant, Chen Zhenchuan was grateful to the person who had banned Baiguang Model Agency from the bottom of his heart. Chen Zhenchuan even thought that to be able to ban Baiguang Model Agency in less than a day, the other party must be a famous company in the country, or even an international company. Just as Chen Zhenchuan was thinking about this in admiration, a pleasant and calm female voice was heard. That's right. I was the one who banned Baiguang Model Agency. Was she the one who banned them? Her. Everyone present turned their heads in surprise, only to see Yun Jian pursing her lips. Her red lips curled up as she spoke. Baiguang Model Agency was banned under her orders. No matter what kind of background Baiguang Model Agency had, what was the use of Baiguang Model Agency if a company under Baiguang Model Agency couldn't even be banned? Everyone present was stunned when they heard Yun Jian's words. What? Baiguang Model Agency was really banned by Yun Jian? Was there a mistake? She was just a child. Chapter 825. Even Chen Zhenchuan was dumbfounded, confused by Yun Jian's words. It was not that Chen Zhenchuan looked down on Yun Jian, but what kind of existence was Baiguang Model Agency? At least in Longmen City, Baiguang Model Agency was considered a big name. It was even close to breaking out of Longmen City and becoming the top entertainment company in the country. In other words, a large company like Baiguang Model Agency would one day become the top entertainment company in Country Z. Since it had been established for a long time, it had nurtured countless famous models and artists until now. It had a bright future ahead of it. Chen Zhenchuan's company might still be on par with Baiguang Model Agency, but it was impossible for Chen Zhenchuan to shut Baiguang Model Agency out. That was why Chen Zhenchuan was so shocked. Yun Jian said that she was the one who shut down Baiguang Model Agency. Who was she? What force would shut down Baiguang Model Agency? The man with the beer belly and the more experienced man were completely dumbfounded. After the initial shock, however, distrust was written all over their faces. Come on, young lady. I understand that you want to take credit, but Baiguang Model Agency isn't something you can shut down just because you say so. We have to look at the actual situation. You can't just spout nonsense like that. The man with the beer belly added. He thought that Yun Jian was eager to show off in front of Chen Zhenchuan, and that Yun Jian wanted to take credit in front of the latter like he did. Yun Jian understood what he meant, but Yun Jian only smiled faintly and did not bother to explain herself. Take credit for what? Are you crazy? Does my master need to take credit? Zhang Xiaofan could not hold himself back and shouted. That's right, my Jian Jian doesn't need it. Chen Xini was lying on the bed. If she was not held down by Wuxia, she would have stood up to speak up for Yun Jian. The man with the beer belly fell silent after Zhang Xiaofan and Chen Xini scolded him. Zhang Xiaofan and Chen Xini's parents owned big companies while the man with the beer belly was just a poor worker. Once they heard that Chen Xini was in trouble, they came to visit her immediately to leave a good impression on Chen Zhenchuan. The man with the beer belly dared not refute Zhang Xiaofan and Chen Xini's words. Be it Zhang Xiaofan or Chen Xini's father, they were both directors of a collective company. This beer-bellied man and his group of people flattered them. Wasn't it because they wanted them to remember their family ties and become rich with them? Zhang, Xiaofan, Xini, that's enough. Chen Zhenchuan spoke with a frown. Zhang Xiaofan was the man with the beer belly. Once Chen Zhenchuan spoke, everyone else fell silent. Chen Zhenchuan smiled at Yun Jian awkwardly and said, No matter what, Xiaoyi was saved because of you. The doctor said that her injury isn't serious and she can be discharged next Saturday morning. To express my gratitude, I'll invite you to our house for dinner next Saturday. Otherwise, I'd really feel bad. Other than Chen Xini and Wuxia who knew about it, everyone else was taken aback by Chen Zhenchuan's sudden invitation. In spite of it, Yun Jian had saved Chen Xini's life, so it was not strange for Chen Zhenchuan to invite her. Jian, come. You must come to my house next Saturday. The doctor said that I have to rest at home for a month after I'm discharged. I'll be bored to death if you don't come. Chen Sini invited with a smile. Chapter 826. Chen Zhenchuan grinned when he heard that Yun Jian had agreed to come to his house for dinner next Saturday. He found Yun Jian, his daughter's best friend, rather pleasing to the eye. It's decided then. And this young man? Come along next Saturday as well. The more the merrier. Haha. As Chen Zhenchuan spoke, he noticed Ce, who was standing beside Yun Jian, and extended a token invitation as well. Before Ce could say anything, however, Yun Jian had already declined on his behalf. He's busy next Saturday. He probably won't be able to make it. Hearing that Yun Jian had declined on behalf of Ce, Chen Zhenchuan added, that's quite a pity. Actually, Chen Zhenchuan had only invited Ce because he thought that Ce would be coming with Yun Jian to visit Chen Sini. Out of courtesy, he could not just invite Yun Jian alone. It would be rather awkward for Ce to accept such an invitation. Under such circumstances, Yun Jian had declined on behalf of Ce to avoid embarrassment. Yun Jian put down the fruit basket before she left, eliciting another round of thanks from Wuxia and Chen Zhenchuan. Yun Jian left the hospital with Ce after learning that Chen Sini was all right. Zhang Xiaofan agreed to Chen Sini's request and sent Yun Jian downstairs from the hospital ward until they left Longmen City People's Hospital. Master, don't worry. Sini will be fine with us taking care of her. I'm planning to take a day off this week to accompany Chen Sini in the hospital. She won't be bored then. Hehe, Master. Please thank Zhang Jian on my behalf. It's all thanks to his strength that he carried Sini into the car and down to the hospital. Zhang Xiaofan said a lot to Yun Jian in one breath. Yun Jian merely nodded. I'll tell him when we go to school tonight. Yun Jian reassured Zhang Xiaofan and bade farewell to Zhang Xiaofan before she turned to leave with Ce side by side. Longmen City People's Hospital was near the downtown area. Not long after Yun Jian and Ce left the hospital, Yun Jian suddenly remembered something. I'm going to buy a cell phone for my mom and brother. It's convenient for us to contact, Yun Jian said to Ce as she stood by the roadside. Due to what happened to Qin Yiru not too long ago, Qin Yiru and Yun Yi, so that it's convenient for them to contact. Even if the previous incident happened, she could use the program to lock the phone's address and find the person immediately. Okay. Ce said softly and reached out to hold Yun Jian's hand, walking to the opposite side of the road on the right. It was a downtown area. Cell phones were becoming popular among the rich now. In 1999, Nokia was the first to launch the first WAP cell phone, the Nokia 7110, in country Z. Yun Jian caught up with the trend and bought two Nokia 7110 cell phones for Qin Yiru and Yun Yi respectively. It was past 9 in the morning. Yun Jian and Ce had just returned home to see Qin Yiru and Gu Junjian arranging the barbecue equipment. Spring was coming. As the weather was getting warmer, the bone-chilling cold of winter had passed. It was the season where everything was rejuvenating. This meant that spring had arrived. Spring always made people think of spring outings. Not only would schools organize spring outings, Gu Junjian had applied for a day's leave from the military and prepared the barbecue equipment to bring Xiao Yunju and the other children for a picnic. It was the weekend and Yun Jian did not have to go to school, so Gu Junjian had decided to bring the children for a picnic at the last minute. Chapter 827. In the morning, when they heard Gu Junjian say that they were going out for a picnic, Xiao Yunju and the other two were so happy that they didn't know what to do. At this moment, Xiao Yunju, Duan Li, and Duanya had already put on their exquisite backpacks and stood by the stairs, watching Qin Yiru and Gu Junjian pack up the barbecue equipment. No way, how can this be? You guys are all going out for a picnic, but I'm not allowed to go? You're just messing with me. When Yun Jian and Ce reached the stairs, they heard a rather irritable male voice coming from upstairs. They didn't need to listen to know that it was Adam. You're seriously injured. Eating barbecue isn't good for your body. Can you resist eating if you go with us? So you can't go. Mo Sen's voice came soon after. Adam looked quite normal, but in front of delicious food, he really had no self-control at all. F***CK. You're clearly leaving me alone at home, aren't you? Mo Sen, you bastard. Adam's voice slowly rose, and then he fell back down. It sounded more like he was talking to someone else. Shuang, you talk sense to me. Is there anyone like Mo-sen? Didn't we agree to share blessings and misfortunes together? Shui-ing seemed to chuckle slightly, his voice carrying a bit of suppressed laughter. All right, who told you to be injured like this? I think you should just listen to me, haha. Isn't it all because of that girl Lan Su? Adam seemed to be very angry as he spoke. Adam and the other two had just finished talking upstairs when Yun Jian, who was standing downstairs, saw Lan Su, who had just returned from the main entrance, standing at the stairs, preparing to go upstairs. Yun Jian. Lan Su had just returned from outside, and she called out to Yun Jian softly. Yun Jian nodded and smiled slightly. Lan Su naturally heard the conversation between Adam and the other two upstairs. At this moment, Lan Su had gone upstairs before Yun Jian. Yun Jian and Ce walked behind Lan Su leisurely. As soon as they reached the second floor, Adam and the other two who were standing by the stairs on the second floor were slightly stunned. Damn it, damn girl, why didn't you say anything when you came up? Adam was just talking about Lan Su when he suddenly saw Lan Su coming up from downstairs. He cursed. Lan Su cast a sidelong glance at Adam. Then she walked past Adam and the other two, intending to head back to her room. Adam gulped. Just as he thought Lan Su was angry, he heard Lan Su turn to Adam and say, I won't go with you. I'll stay at home with you. This could be considered as a little compensation for Adam. After all, Adam was injured because of him. If he also went to the cookout and left Adam at home, no one would feel good. No, damn girl, you. I didn't mean that. Adam thought that Lan Su was angry. He irritably reached out to touch his head and said, I don't want you to stay at home. Who wants you to accompany me? Just looking at you makes me annoyed. After saying that, Adam turned around and walked away in a hurry. These two are really conflicted. Shui-ing couldn't help but laugh loudly. Then, he walked in front of Ce and happily called out, Young master, we're leaving. Hurry up and go downstairs. Qin Yiru shouted from downstairs. Just as Qin Yiru shouted this sentence, there was a dong 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 sound at the door. The door wasn't closed, but the person outside the door still knocked symbolically. Is there anyone here? Someone peeked in to take a look. When the man saw Qin Yiru in the house, he brought a few men into the house without a care in the world. Chapter 828. When the man whom Qin Yiru referred to as her cousin walked in, there were two people following behind him. Qin Yiru's cousin poked his head in when he saw the door open. When he saw that there was someone in the house, he brought his wife and daughter into the house. Oh, Yiru, you're here. I thought you'd gone out, Qin Yiru's cousin said with a chuckle despite knowing the answer. As he spoke, he pulled his wife and daughter into the house. Cousin, why are you here? Qin Yiru quickly put down the barbecue tools she was fiddling with and stood up as she spoke. Heh, I heard that you're getting married. Since I'm free today, I thought I'd come to give you some money as a wedding gift, Qin Yiru's cousin said as he walked in through the door. Qin Yiru's cousin's name was Lin Jiahao. Lin Jiahao was a distant relative on Zhang Meihua's side. Zhang Meihua had many siblings in her generation. Naturally, Qin Yiru had many cousins as well. Lin Jiahao was one of them among this group of cousins. Back then, due to the lack of family planning, Zhang Meihua's mother's generation, who was also Yun Jian's grandmother's mother's generation, had children one after another despite living in poverty. They were very fertile. Therefore, to Qin Yiru, her cousins had reached a whole new level. She had a total of 10 to 20 cousins, excluding the cousins on her father's side. Therefore, Qin Yiru did not have much contact with her cousins like Lin Jiahao. Therefore, when she saw Lin Jiahao, Qin Yiru was clearly stunned. After all, Lin Jiahao did not even come when she and Yun Gang got married. Yet, he suddenly appeared here today, claiming that he was here to give her and Gu Yunjian's wedding gift? However, before Qin Yiru could think further, Lin Jiahao had already walked over with a red packet in his hand. He said courteously as he handed it over, My cousin's family is poor. We don't have much money. When I heard that you're getting married, I rushed over from home. My cousin's family used to be so poor that we didn't even have enough to eat. Now that I know that you're getting married, I have to rush over to give you my blessings. Heh. He was giving money as a wedding gift. In rural terms, it was to pray for peace and good luck. Qin Yiru was embarrassed to not accept it. Cousin, you're too kind. Sit down and have a cup of tea. Qin Yiru took the money and ran to the kitchen. Not long after that, she came out with a pot of hot water. Lin Jiahao didn't feel awkward at all. Instead, he smiled casually and pulled his wife and daughter to sit down as well. Was Qin Yiru's mother's family. Xiao Yunzhu and the other two looked disappointed. However, the three of them were well behaved. They didn't cry or make a fuss. Mom, are we leaving? Yun Jian came downstairs when she heard her mother's voice. Not yet. We have guests at home. Let's go later, Qin Yiru said to Yun Jian. Then, she walked over to Lin Jiahao and the other two with a pot of hot water. To Qin Yiru, a visitor was a guest. Even if Lin Jiahao, her cousin, didn't have much contact with her, since he was here, she had to treat him well. Lin Jiahao took the tea from Qin Yiru's hands. He looked at Gu Junjian as he drank and asked, "This is my cousin-in-law, right?" "Yes." Qin Yiru nodded happily. Her face was filled with a smile that couldn't be ignored. Then, "This is your daughter, Yun Jian?" Lin Jiahao looked at Yun Jian, who had just come downstairs. His eyes flashed as he asked. Hearing Lin Jiahao's question, Qin Yiru nodded. "Yes." Chapter 829. The news that Qin Yiru had a capable daughter who was the director of new crews had spread throughout Xinjiang town. Not just Xinjiang town, Zhang Meihua had visited all her relatives and friends after the news was exposed, bragging proudly about Yun Jian's capabilities. Now, there was not a single one of Zhang Meihua's relatives and friends who did not know about Yun Jian's identity as new crew's director. Lin Jiahao must have rushed here to give money after hearing that Qin Yiru was getting married soon because of Yun Jian's identity. Xiao Jian is an obedient child. She's filial too, heh. Qin Yiru said in relief but did not praise her daughter's excellence in front of Lin Jiahao. It was not appropriate to say it in front of outsiders. Xian, take a good look at your cousin. She's the director of a company at such a young age. What about you? You only know how to go out and have fun. Lin Jiahao couldn't help but say as he poked his daughter's hand. What kind of game is this? Lin Jiahao couldn't help but say. Lin Jiahao's daughter was called Lin Xian. She was not particularly good-looking, probably because she inherited Lin Jiahao's looks. Lin Jiahao's wife, who was the woman sitting beside him with a dark expression, had a decent figure and above-average looks. Lin Jiahao's wife was called Shen Tulian. She was rather good-looking. At least, there were not many people who looked like her in the countryside. It was just that Shen Tulian was upset when Lin Jiahao praised Yun Jian and criticized their daughter. Shen Tulian was unhappy. Her unhappiness was written all over her face. Stretching her hand, she pinched Lin Jiahao's arm harshly. Of course, her gesture did not escape Yun Jian's eyes. Qin Yiru did not see it though. It's good that children like to play. Lively children will be successful in the future. Qin Yiru commented in a friendly manner. Humph! Hypocrite! Lin Xian glared at Qin Yiru in disgust when she heard what the latter said before turning away. That temper. Keep it in check. Lin Jiahao slapped Lin Xian at once. He then told Qin Yiru apologetically, "My Xian is like that. Don't be mad at her." All children are like that. Qin Yiru chuckled awkwardly. Gu Junjian was currently sitting on the sofa with Qin Yiru. Yun Jian was leaning against the sofa with her arms crossed. Lin Jiahao chatted idly with Qin Yiru for a while more before he asked, "Yiru, your daughter's company is doing so well. Why don't we let Xuan's company? She's doing's company. One more person. Isn't that right?" He Yunjian's Yiru's why he's zzzzzz. It was not a question but a direct answer. He did not even ask if Qin Yiru and Yun Jian agreed to it. Lin Jiahao made it sound like it was a great honor for him to let his precious daughter follow Yun Jian to new crews. Chapter 830. Lin Xian was indeed not very good-looking. Shen Tulian was tall, and she was 1.65 meters tall. She was the standard height of a woman, and she looked all right. Lin Jiahao, on the other hand, was not very good-looking, and he was short. Lin Jiahao was only 1.64 meters tall, and he was even shorter than Shen Tulian. The The couple's genes were intertwined. Logically speaking, Lin Xian should not be short, even if Lin Jiahao was not that tall. But for some reason, Lin Xian was only 1.52 meters tall. 1.52 meters. If Lin Xian was pretty, it would not be a big deal. In fact, as long as she was pretty and pleasing to the eye, according to modern standards, as long as she was good-looking, even if she was 1.50 meters tall, people would say that she was cute and adorable. But Lin Xian was short, and she was also fat. She was only 1.52 meters tall, but she weighed more than 120 kilograms. On top of that, Lin Xian's nose was flat, and her face was fat. She was not cute at all. Therefore, when Xintilian complimented her daughter, Lin Xian, on the other hand, Yun Jian turned around and chuckled unkindly. Despite that, Yun Jian did not make a sound. Of course, if Qin Yiru had praised Lin Xian's looks, Yun Jian would not have found it funny. But when it came from Lin Xian's mother, Xintilian, it felt completely different. It was said that family members did not praise their own family, but Xintilian? She, on the other hand, was praising her own daughter to the heavens. Ah! Qin Yiru, who was questioned, was rather embarrassed. After all, to Qin Yiru, New Cruise was not hers, but Yun Jian's. This was something that Qin Yiru could not agree to Lin Jiahao's request. Moreover, Lin Jiahao and the others had suddenly come. To be honest, Qin Yiru did not like them at all. She had thought that Lin Jiahao and the others were starting to value their family. Today, they had come to give her dowry money because of her wedding. But Qin Yiru did not expect this at all. Why did her cousins suddenly come to visit? So this was his motive. Qin Yiru's heart sank. How is it? Yiru, my Xian isn't bad at all. Other than English, she's in the top 5 in all her subjects. She will definitely be a talent in the future. If I let Xian follow your daughter will have picked up a treasure early. When Xintilian saw Qin Yiru pause, she panicked and urged her. When Qin Yiru had married Yun Gang, Lin Jiahao and the others had looked down on Qin Yiru the most. They had thought that Qin Yiru would never amount to anything in this lifetime. Therefore, when Qin Yiru and Yun Gang got married, Lin Jiahao and the others didn't even come to congratulate them, let alone give them money. However, when he heard that Qin Yiru's daughter, Yun Jian, was the director of New Cruise, Lin Jiahao could not take it anymore. It was only natural that they would be jealous. After all, New Cruise's daily sales were in the tens of millions. All of this belonged to Qin Yiru's daughter, whom they had looked down on back then. I can't make decisions about New Cruise. I'm just cooking at home now. I'm not at work. Qin Yiru smiled awkwardly, her tactful rejection not giving anyone a chance to find a loophole. It was just that when Lin Jiahao heard Qin Yiru say that she could not make decisions, his gaze shifted to Yun Jian. You're Xiao Jian, aren't you? Haha, my Xian is excellent. Can you let her intern in New Cruise with you? Lin Jiahao's attitude was sincere and tactful. It was just that Yun Jian rejected Lin Jiahao's tactful attitude decisively. No. Chapter 831. Lin Jiahao and Xintilian's fawning faces froze in an instant. Tell me, what kind of young lady would reject someone's invitation so straightforwardly? It was undeniable that Lin Jiahao and Xintilian were shocked by Yun Jian's straightforward rejection. But who was Lin Jiahao? He was so thick-skinned that even an atomic bomb could not penetrate his skin. How could he be discouraged by Yun Jian's rejection? Was the money he had given to Qin Yiru for nothing? Since he had given it away, he had to get his money back. Hee, you can't do that now, can you? I know, I understand. Haha. New Cruise must be doing something now. Reformation, right? They've even changed a bunch of employees. They're selecting talents, right? Lin Jiahao had some understanding of New Cruise, so what he said had some basis in fact. It's fine if you can't take my Xian in now. She's still young anyway. When she grows up, she'll graduate from a proper university. Hee, it shouldn't be hard for her to become a manager in New Cruise then, haha. Lin Jiahao indulged in his own self-praise. Yun Jian ignored him. Yun Jian did not want to bother with someone like Lin Jiahao. Qin Yiru only smiled awkwardly, but it was not hard to tell that Qin Yiru was extremely embarrassed. After all, Lin Jiahao had come to her door to beg her daughter to join her company. Moreover, it was mainly because of Lin Jiahao's daughter. It was a little unsightly. Under such circumstances, Qin Yiru naturally did not like it. Moreover, this was not her company but her daughter's company. Qin Yiru was even more displeased now. Ping ping ping. Ping ping ping. Ping ping. There was a commotion on the stairs. Then something made of metal rolled down. Lin Jiahao and the rest who were sitting downstairs were shocked. Then, Xue Ying leaped down from the railing on the second floor. Lin Jiahao and the other two just happened to be sitting facing the stairs, and they happened to see Xue Ying leap down from the second floor. Yun Jian was standing with her back to the stairs, but Yun Jian could hear the sound behind her. Seeing Xue Ying suddenly jump down from the second floor, Lin Jiahao and the other two were scared out of their wits on the spot. Only then did they react. "Oh my God!" Lin Jiahao and the other two screamed in unison. They looked as if their guts were about to burst. Xue Ying was stunned for 2 seconds when he saw an outsider. He picked up the silver spoon from the floor and went upstairs as if nothing had happened. Halfway up the stairs to the second floor, Xue Ying turned his head to look at Qin Yiru and asked casually, "Are you leaving?" "Not yet. Just wait a little longer," Qin Yiru replied. Xue Ying nodded and went upstairs with the spoon. How could he say that he and Mo Sen had accidentally dropped the spoon when they were discussing which spoon to use for the barbecue upstairs? He also wouldn't say that it was their young master who threw the spoon down. Until Xue Ying went upstairs, Lin Jiahao and the other two were still in a state of shock. Someone actually jumped down from the second floor and was not injured at all? He couldn't have been trained, right? Although there was a long scar on Xue Ying's neck, Xue Ying's facial features were excellent, even more outstanding than Adam's. Therefore, Lin Xian, who was full of arrogance just now, was a bit infatuated. Chapter 832. Also, the way he jumped down was so cool. It was a pity that this man had such a deep scar on his neck. Otherwise, she would have pursued him no matter what. While Lin Xian was thinking about this, she did not think about whether her looks were good enough for Xue Ying. "What? Cousin, you guys are..." Lin Jiahao finally saw the barbecue tools that Qin Yiru had placed on the ground. It was not that he had just seen it. It was just that Lin Jiahao had spoken to Qin Yiru with an ulterior motive just now. Now that Yun Jian did not agree to it when he brought up his purpose, that was why he asked in such a tone. "Cousin, are you guys going for a picnic?" Lin Jiahao asked. "Yes. Isn't spring coming? Everything is coming back to life, so we wanted to take the children out for a walk. We didn't have time before, but now that we have time, we decided to go for a spring outing as a family," Qin Yiru said happily. Isn't this a coincidence? Actually, our family was planning to go out today, but you guys want to go too. Why don't we go together? Since the weather is good today, let's go together? Won't one more person be one more companion?" Lin Jiahao said in an uninvited tone as usual. This. Qin Yiru naturally did not want to. She originally wanted to take her family out for a walk, and there were not many barbecue ingredients for today's barbecue. If she added Lin Jiahao and the other two, she would probably only get a small amount of barbecue. "Cousin, you're so understanding, so you'll definitely agree. Then it's settled, let's go," Lin Jiahao said as he stood up and stretched. "That's great. I haven't had barbecue in a long time. It's great." Lin Xian also stood up. Her fat body looked disgusting. "I haven't had barbecue in a long time too. I'm craving it," Shantil Yan also stood up and said. She looked like she would not leave until she had barbecue. "I'll go buy some more barbecue ingredients." Gu Junjian saw that Qin Yiru was in a dilemma, so he stood up and walked out. Gu Junjian did not want Qin Yiru to be in such a difficult position. As long as Qin Yiru was happy, even if he had to spend some money on Qin Yiru's relatives, it would be good enough. "Cousin-in-law, you don't have to buy too many barbecue ingredients. 100 lamb skewers are enough." "Oh, Shen likes to eat sausages, that's all." Lin Jiahao made the decision. Gu Junjian wasn't an obedient person, so he ignored Lin Jiahao's words. Villagers liked gossiping, especially people like Lin Jiahao. If Qin Yiru had rejected Lin Jiahao right to his face today, he would probably run back to the village and gossip about it. By then, Qin Yiru's reputation would be ruined. Yun Jian was not happy with Lin Jiahao's family, but since Qin Yiru did not object, she did not care. It would be fine as long as she ate her own food. If Lin Jiahao's family wanted to take advantage of the situation or go overboard, she did not mind teaching them a lesson. Let's go, yay! Xiao Yunju and the other two had been waiting for a long time. When they heard that they were leaving, the three of them immediately jumped up and down happily. Let's go, let's go. Shui Ying and Mo Sen quickly came down when they heard the sound. Ce, on the other hand, walked behind them. Chapter 833. If Lin Xian thought that Shui Ying's looks were outstanding when she first saw him, his features were well-defined and lively, then the current Ce did not seem real at all. He was handsome, but that was all there was to it. In comparison, Ce, who was walking behind Shui Ying and Mo Sen, gave off an unmistakable sense of handsomeness. Lin Xian's mouth was agape just by looking at him. She was almost drooling. Oh my this! Yiru, why are there so many people in your family? Who are the three of them? Even the middle-aged Shintulian could not help but stare. The three of them. The one behind is my friend's nephew. We're family. Qin Yiru smiled but did not answer in detail. Of course, she would not reveal that Ce was her chosen son-in-law. After all, they were not that close to Lin Jiahao's family. After the previous incident, Qin Yiru was actually more cautious about everything now. She was no longer as courteous to some people as before. After all, people change. And I mean your friend's nephew. What's his name? Lin Xian's eyes widened the moment she saw Ce. She could not help but walk up to Qin Yiru to ask. Even her tone had changed. Lin Xian was as rude to Qin Yiru as she pretended to be gracious now. His name is Ce. Although Qin Yiru was a little unhappy with Lin Xian's question, she still replied symbolically. Ce. Lin Xian muttered in her heart. Her plump cheeks could not help but make people feel disgusted. Xiao Yunju did not stick to Ce as much now that he had Duan Li and Duan Ya. However, Xiao Yunju still glared at Lin Xian when he saw Ce coming down the stairs. He then ran over to pull Yun Jian to Ce and called out to Ce. Brother Ce. Ce reached out and rubbed Xiao Yunju's head out of habit. Let's go. Ce's slightly hoarse voice could be heard. With that, Ce held Yun Jian's hand. He held Yun Jian's hand. Lin Xian felt like her heart was about to break. It was rare for her to meet a man who suited her so well. Was he Yun Jian's? Why? Was it just because Yun Jian was beautiful? Although she, Lin Xian, was ugly, her heart was extremely good. Why couldn't anyone see the beauty in her heart? Just as Lin Xian thought of this, Yun Jian and Ce had already led Xiao Yunju and the other two out. Mo Sen and Shui Ying also laughed and followed. You guys wait. Lin Xian wanted to interrupt, but just as she spoke, Yun Jian and Ce had already walked out. When Shintulian saw this, her face darkened again. Her expression and mood were all displayed on her face. Let Xian play with them. The children's ages are close so they get along. Xian, hurry up and follow them. Shintulian pushed Lin Xian and gestured for her to follow Yun Jian and Ce. When Lin Xian heard her mother say this, she hurriedly ran out to find Ce. Qin Yiru couldn't even get a word in edgewise. Two sports cars were parked in front of the villa's main entrance. One was a Lamborghini, which belonged to Ce. The other was a Bugatti Veyron. This Bugatti Veyron was a new super sports car that Adam had just bought. It was the latest model and only 10 were sold in the world. Chapter 834. We want to sit with Big Brother Mo Sen and Big Brother Wang Er. Xiao Yunju and the other two discussed for a while before running towards Adam's Bugatti Veyron. Hearing Xiao Yunju call him Big Brother Wang Er, Shui Ying couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth. This nickname was randomly given to him by Adam, but Xiao Yunju and the other two really took it seriously and kept calling him that. Damn it, if he didn't wreck Adam's Bugatti Veyron today, Shui Ying, really wouldn't stop. Little Zhu, Big Brother's car can only seat 2 people, so you can only sit with your big brother Ce and big sister. Shui Ying looked at Xiao Yunju and said, Oh okay. Xiao Yunju and the other two were very sensible and well-behaved. This was because Adam's Bugatti Veyron didn't have a back seat, but Ci's Lamborghini did. Xiao Yunju and the other two very obediently walked towards Yunjian and Ce. However, Xiao Yunju wasn't very willing to sit with Yunjian and Ce. This was because Duan Li said that their behavior, in the words of their classmate Little Hui, was like a third wheel. A child who was a third wheel wouldn't be able to grow tall. Xiao Yunju and the other two were still walking towards Yunjian and Ce. Because Adam's Bugatti Veyron and Ce's Lamborghini were parked a little far from each other, Xiao Yunju and the other two were still a little far away from each other. "Wait for me. My mom said to let us go together. Don't leave by yourself. Wait for me." At this moment, Lin Xian ran out from the house. Lin Xian's fat body trembled. Because of her short stature and fat body, Lin Xian looked like a lump of fat hanging on her body, and the trembling fat looked like it would fall off at any time. Because Lin Xian rushed out of the house, Xiao Yunju, Duan Li, and Duanya just happened to walk towards Yunjian and Ce from the side. Lin Xian, who rushed out of the house, bumped into Xiao Yunju and the other two. Actually, if Lin Xian stopped at this moment and let Xiao Yunju and the other two go first, they wouldn't have bumped into each other. However, seeing Yunjian and Ce walking over, Lin Xian became anxious. She saw Xiao Yunju and the other three walk over. She acted as if she didn't see them. She didn't know where her sister Zhu's. She's as to her to you to her too. S2's Xiao Yunju looked thin and weak, and there wasn't much meat on his body. On the other hand, Lin Xian was a big fatty through and through. After being hit by Lin Xian, Xiao Yunju lost his balance and fell to the ground. Fortunately, Xiao Yunju's hands were fast. He reacted quickly and stretched out his hand to support himself on the ground, so his little face didn't hit the ground and bleed. However, Xiao Yunju's hand rubbed against the cement on the ground. The moment Xiao Yunju fell, he even screamed in pain. Therefore, one could imagine how painful it was without seeing it. Yunjian was standing at least 10 meters away, and Lin Xian's collision was sudden. Who would have thought that she would really bump into a child? Therefore, when Yunjian saw it, Xiao Yunju had already been hit by Lin Xian. "Yunju, are you okay?" Duan Li was so scared that she quickly helped Xiao Yunju up with Duanya. "I'm fine. I'm a man. It's okay." Xiao Yunju frowned from the pain, but he still forced himself to speak. However, when Xiao Yunju turned his palm over, Yunjian and Ce, who were walking over, saw that his palm was bleeding from the friction on the ground. The pebbles on the ground were stuck to Xiao Yunju's broken hand, and blood immediately gushed out. Chapter 835. Feeling Yunjian's gaze, Lin Xian shuddered violently and her entire body trembled. "Ah, Yunju, you're injured, you're bleeding!" Duan Li shouted. Then, she fearfully took out a tissue from her trouser pocket and gently wiped Xiao Yunju's hand. Duan Li called Xiao Yunju Yunju from the beginning. For Duan Li, the most intimate way to address Xiao Yunju was to call him by his name. Hiss! Feeling Duan Li using the tissue to wipe his bleeding hand, Xiao Yunju couldn't help but gasp. Pain that was inevitable. Because just now, in order to prevent his entire body from falling to the ground, Xiao Yunju had stretched out a hand and fiercely received all the pressure of gravity. In other words, when he fell, the gravity of his entire body was supported by his hand. Xiao Yunju didn't let his head fall to the ground, which was already very good. Feeling Yunjian's murderous gaze, Lin Xian shrunk her neck, but still pretended to be righteous and said to Yunjian, Is there a need to do this? It's not like you're going to die. Who hasn't experienced bumps and bruises before?" Lin Xian's words made Yunjian's gaze sharpen. However, Yunjian didn't have the time to take revenge on Lin Xian for Xiao Yunju. Mo Sen, who ran over from afar, saw this and said to Yunjian habitually, "I'll go get the first aid kit." With that, Mo Sen walked home. At this moment, Yunjian had already silently squatted down to check on Xiao Yunju's injury. The silence was the precursor to Yunjian's anger. The quieter it was, the greater Yunjian's latent anger. Ce also squatted down beside Yunjian. Lin Xian watched from the side and her envy grew stronger. "Xiao Zhu, other than your hand, does it hurt anywhere else?" Yunjian reached out and pulled Xiao Yunju's hand to take a look and asked. It doesn't hurt anywhere else. Xiao Yunju said as he stood up with his uninjured hand held by Ce. Ce patted the dust off Xiao Yunju's butt. At this time, Mo Sen quickly took out the medical kit from the house and ran over. Qin Yiru, who was in the room, saw Mo Sen going back to the room to get the first aid kit. She was shocked and hurried out to see what had happened. As soon as Qin Yiru came out, Lin Jiahao and Shintalien followed. At this time, Yun Jian had already applied medicine for Xiao Yunju. Yun Jian cleaned the abrasions on Xiao Yunju's palms and applied a band-aid. She bandaged the wounds to prevent them from being infected by bacteria. "Sister, I'm fine. It doesn't hurt anymore." Xiao Yunju was afraid that she would worry, so he waved his hand as if to prove that he really didn't hurt anymore. "Okay." Yun Jian nodded and then put everything back into the first aid kit. Mo Sen ran errands and helped Yun Jian put the first aid kit back. At this time, Yun Jian had already stood up and looked at Lin Xian from the corner of her eyes. Lin Xian was shocked by Yun Jian's gaze again. Then Lin Xian shouted at Yun Jian righteously, "What are you doing?" "I didn't do it on purpose." Lin Xian clearly did it on purpose. She saw Yun Jian and Ce standing next to the car and was about to get in. In a moment of panic, she wanted to chase after them. In the end, she didn't expect Xiao Yunju to also come over. At that time, she didn't even think and directly bumped into Xiao Yunju. "You didn't do it on purpose?" Yun Jian raised her eyebrows. At this time, Qin Yiru, Lin Jiahao and Shintalien had already walked out of the house. Yun Jian went forward and in front of everyone, she gave Lin Xian a hard slap. This slap sent Lin Xian sprawling on the ground. Chapter 836. Yun Jian sneered after she slapped Lin Xian. She returned what Lin Xian did to Yunju exactly as she did to Lin Xian. Yun Jian's slap was swift, accurate, and vicious. Qin Yiru and the others who came out of the house saw it as well. In fact, Yun Jian did it for Lin Jiahao and Shintalien to see. "Xian Xian? Xian Xian." As expected, Lin Jiahao and Shintalien saw it and ran over screaming. Lin Jiahao's expression was normal, but Shintalien looked as if Lin Xian was almost beaten to death by Yun Jian. She was no different from a guardian. I don't know what my Xian Xian did to you. What are you doing?" Lin Jiahao's attitude towards Yun Jian was always polite. However, Yun Jian was the director of new crews. Because of that, Lin Jiahao had to be polite to Yun Jian if he wanted to use Yun Jian. Shintalien did not care about that. She had been protecting Lin Xian since she was young. When she saw Lin Xian fall to the ground after being slapped by Yun Jian, she could not hold it in anymore. "My Xian Xian is so obedient. Why did you hit her? Xian Xian is such a smart child. What if you hit her and she becomes stupid? She's going to be a top student in the university in the future." Shintalien shouted at Yun Jian. Lin Jiahao and Shintalien were helping Lin Xian. Lin Xian, who was sitting on the ground and pretending to be pitiful, could not help but give Yun Jian a provocative look. At that moment, Qin Yiru walked over with a frown. Xiao Yunju was smart. When he saw Qin Yiru walking over, Xiao Yunju extended his hand, which had a band-aid on it. "Mother Qin, she pushed me just now and I fell. My hand is covered in blood." She didn't apologize, so they scolded Sister. "Sister was helping me," Xiao Yunju said as he pointed at Lin Xian. Then, in order to prove the injury on his hand, he even took off the band-aid. As soon as the band-aid was removed, the wound on Xiao Yunju's hand was immediately revealed. Xiao Yunju was still a kid. Even though he wasn't injured, the wound on Xiao Yunju's hand was enough to make everyone gasp. Isn't it just a small injury? Was there a need to make a fuss? Isn't it normal for children to get injured? We played in the fields every day when we were young. How could we not get injured? Shintalien said confidently. That level of confidence was comparable to Lin Xian's. Lin Jiahao, on the other hand, had more foresight than Shintalien and Lin Xian. He glared fiercely at Shintalien, then said to Yun Jian, "It's all my daughter and wife's fault. Xian Xian is still young and doesn't know any better. Please forgive her." As he spoke, Lin Jiahao chuckled and said, "We're family, so there's no need to be so polite. Besides, Xian Xian will be following you to work in your company in the future." Yun Jian didn't agree to work in new cruise with Lin Xian. In fact, Yun Jian had rejected her outright at that time. However, Lin Jiahao didn't take Yun Jian's rejection seriously at all. Or rather, he ignored Yun Jian's words at that time. Yun Jian chuckled softly. She had never seen such shameless people like Lin Jiahao and his family. Therefore, Yun Jian didn't hold back. I think I wasn't clear enough. Let me make it clear here. New Cruise can't afford to hire someone like your daughter. It's impossible in this lifetime, so you can go back. Chapter 837. Yun Jian should have been angry long ago. Once she was angry, she would not be wasting her breath on Lin Jiahao and the rest. Instead, it would be a matter of life and death. However, Yun Jian did not do it out of respect for Qin Yiru. After all, Lin Jiahao was Qin Yiru's relative from her maternal side. Qin Yiru had been tolerating Qin Yiru earlier, which meant that Qin Yiru definitely cared about it. Of course, Lin Jiahao and his family had already crossed her bottom line. Lin Xian had even hurt Xiao Yunju. Yun Jian had also given Lin Xian a slap. However, this matter could not be called even. Yun Jian's character had always been that if someone offended her, she would return it 1,000 times over. This was Yun Jian's last line. If Lin Jiahao were to leave now, she would reluctantly give Qin Yiru some face and this matter would be over. However, leave? Didn't we agree to go for a picnic together? Why did you change your mind at the last minute? Lin Jiahao refused to leave since he did not get anything out of it. Moreover, Yun Jian had just said that she would not allow his Xian Xian to enter New Cruise. Did that mean that he had given Qin Yiru his red packet today for nothing? Inside that red packet was the $50 that he had painstakingly earned. Lin Jiahao's red packet was not considered a lot in 1999 in Country Z. Lin Jiahao did not have the heart to give Qin Yiru more red packets. Of course, for someone like Lin Jiahao, if he gave out this red packet without any return, he would definitely feel indignant. Moreover, Lin Jiahao's original intention was for Lin Xian and Yun Jian to enter New Cruise and earn big bucks. Upon hearing Lin Jiahao's, "We agreed to go for a picnic together," Yun Jian laughed out loud on the spot. "Did we agree to go for a picnic together? You're not welcome in our house since you're uninvited." At this point, Yun Jian didn't want to argue with Lin Jiahao anymore. What's more, Lin Xian had injured Xiao Yunju. At this thought, Yun Jian's eyes sharpened. She turned sideways to look at Lin Jiahao and his family. Her cold eyes were hard to ignore. She said coldly to Lin Jiahao and the other two, "I'll give you a choice. Get out of my sight immediately." Look. Our families are relatives. Relatives should help each other regardless of status. But what about your daughter? How could your daughter speak like that? You're actually telling us to get lost? Shintu Lian panicked when she heard that. She still wanted Yun Jian to help her Xian Xian get rich. And the result? Yun Jian actually wanted them to scram. Moreover, their family had given Qin Yiru 50 yuan as a gift. If Yun Jian really didn't help them, would that not be a waste of money? Lin Jiahao and Shintu Lian's first thought was to let Qin Yiru speak for them since they could not win an argument with Yun Jian. To put it bluntly, it was quite embarrassing for Qin Yiru to speak now. After all, if Qin Yiru helped Yun Jian, she would appear petty. However, if Qin Yiru helped Lin Jiahao and Shintu Lian, would she not be helping others instead of her own daughter who was in the right? Lin Jiahao and Shintu Lian's actions were to force Qin Yiru into a corner. Naturally, Yun Jian would not force Qin Yiru into a corner. "You're not scramming, are you?" Yun Jian smirked maliciously. Qin Yiru's heart skipped a beat as well. However, Qin Yiru did not plan to interfere in this matter. She had been bullied by her relatives for half her life. If she did not allow her daughter to fight back, what kind of behavior would that be? "Then, all of you can go to hell." After Yun Jian finished speaking, she strode forward and stood where Lin Xian was. Then, she extended her leg and kicked Lin Xian's knee hard. Ah! Lin Xian suddenly felt a piercing pain. Her knee went limp from Yun Jian's kick and she collapsed like a huge mountain. Chapter 838. Lin Xian's knee was kicked by Yun Jian. Her knees went soft, and she knelt down. Since they were kneeling on a cement road, Lin Xian wasn't wearing much. Therefore, when Lin Xian knelt down, a hole was torn in her pants. Xian Xian! Xian Xian! My baby! Shen Tulian shouted and quickly ran over to help Lin Xian up. Mom, my knee hurts, it hurts, it hurts. Lin Xian said pitifully, but in the end, she was still pulled up by Shen Tulian. Everyone looked over and saw that there was a hole in Lin Xian's pants. Because Lin Xian's pants were not very sturdy, the hole was torn. There were many pebbles on the cement road, and the pebbles rubbed against Lin Xian's knees. Just like the injury on Xiao Yunju's palm, blood gushed out of Lin Xian's knees. Blood! Blood! Mom, blood! Lin Xian saw the blood flowing out of her knees, and she shouted loudly in pain. When Shen Tulian heard that, she squatted in front of Lin Xian and shouted with concern, My baby, my sweetheart! Mom, huff, 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 and it won't hurt anymore, huff, huff. As she spoke, Shen Tulian blew a few times exaggeratedly. It's all her fault. It's all because of her that I got hurt. As Lin Xian spoke, she immediately pointed at Yun Jian. Shen Tulian also turned around hatefully. She was about to speak up for her daughter when Yun Jian's voice rang out calmly. You are children who grew up in the fields. Which day do you not get hurt? Yun Jian's voice was laced with mockery. As she spoke, Yun Jian added, So what's so scary about such a small injury to you? The person who said that she grew up in the fields was Shen Tulian. Yun Jian returned the words back to Shen Tulian in its original form. This made Shen Tulian, who was about to speak, immediately shut her mouth. Wasn't this slapping her own face? However, for someone as thick-skinned as Shen Tulian, how could she shut up just because of Yun Jian's words? How is this the same? Was this a minor injury? Xian Xian had such a serious fall. There's already so much blood. Shen Tulian argued. Really? Yun Jian smiled wickedly. Then, in front of Shen Tulian and the others, she reached into her clothes and took out the butterfly knife. Then I'll do a good deed and let all of you bleed dry. Yun Jian said as she swung her butterfly knife. Yun Jian held the butterfly knife in her hand and played with it skillfully. Seeing this, Shen Tulian, Lin Jiahao, and Lin Xian all swallowed hard. Even if you're the director of new crews, you can't kill us. Because killing is against the law. Shen Tulian felt that Yun Jian's gaze and actions didn't seem to be joking, so she reminded her. This Yun Jian was too scary. Shen Tulian and the other two would rather leave than stay here any longer. Do you want to try? Yun Jian swung her butterfly knife and suddenly walked towards Shen Tulian. She forced Shen Tulian to take 2 steps back. However, her inexplicable pride made Shen Tulian muster the courage to reply. Do you dare? Do you still think you have someone protecting you? I'm protecting her. What can you do? When Shen Tulian said this, Si Yi's mellow male voice suddenly rang out. His voice had a hint of magnetism that could mesmerize people without them noticing. Chapter 839. Si Yi's words were so cold that they could make the surrounding temperature drop by a few degrees. Mo Sen, kill these 3 noisy people. Si Yi did not bother to reason at all. Once he made his move, it was a straightforward kill word. The word kill made Shen Tulian and the other 2 shudder. He was not joking. He was serious. Lin Jiahao, Shen Tulian, and Lin Xian were so frightened that their faces turned pale. We can leave for the picnic immediately after killing these 3 people? All right, let me do such a simple thing. Xue Ying volunteered himself rather casually. He had only taken 2 steps when Xue Ying turned to look at Xiao Yunju and the other 2. You 3 turn around. Be good and I'll buy you lollipops later. Xiao Yunju and the other 2 turned their backs at Xue Ying's words. Xiao Qixi, let's turn around quickly. That way, Brother Wang Er will buy us lollipops. Xiao Yunju pulled Duanli while Duanli pulled Duanya. The 3 of them turned around happily. Everything was so natural. It was as if killing a person was not a big deal at all. It was not just Shen Tulian and Lin Xian. Under such an atmosphere, even Lin Jiahao was scared. Don't, we were wrong. Lin Jiahao said fearfully. As he spoke, Lin Jiahao turned around and slapped Shen Tulian hard before begging Yun Jian for mercy. It's all this B*TCH's fault. I'll teach her a lesson when we get back. As he spoke, Lin Jiahao turned to Qin Yiru. Yiru, you can't joke about this. Cousin is old now. He'll be frightened. As Lin Jiahao spoke, he pulled his wife and daughter to their feet and said to Qin Yiru, Cousin, I'm not feeling well today, so I'll be leaving first. I'll visit again another day. As he spoke, Lin Jiahao hurriedly pulled Chantilien and the limping Lin Xian away from the place. Stop. Did I say you can leave? Yun Jian's voice rang out at this moment, her tone carrying a hint of shock that could not be ignored. Lin Jiahao and the other two, who were about to leave, stopped in their tracks. Lin Jiahao heard Yun Jian's voice and was about to turn around and say something. Whoosh, a tiny blade flew past Lin Jiahao's cheek, brushing past his skin. Even though Lin Jiahao was a big man, he was still frightened by the sudden appearance of the blade. When Yun Jian's blade flew past Lin Jiahao's cheek, Chantilien and Lin Xian happened to turn their heads and see it. As a result, the two of them were so scared that their hair stood on end and they couldn't speak for a long time. However, he heard Yun Jian's voice clearly again. Don't let me see you again. Relatives like you should never appear in front of my family. If I see you again, I will cut off your heads and dig out your hearts to feed the dogs. It had to be said that Lin Jiahao's family was the best. The best of the best. In reality, there was no shortage of such people. If it were anyone else who met such relatives, even if they were in the right, they could only keep it to themselves and think that it was okay for them to be at a disadvantage. Just like Qin Yiru. However, who was Yun Jian? She would never allow anyone to cross her bottom line. Chapter 840. How could Lin Jiahao and his family not panic after being hit by Yun Jian's flying knife so accurately? How could they not be afraid? Lin Jiahao and his family were so scared that their faces turned pale. They even forgot their original intention and left as if they were running away. Seeing Lin Jiahao and his family leave, even Qin Yiru couldn't help but feel relieved and let out a sigh of relief. Little Zhu, are you all right? Qin Yiru looked at Xiao Yunzhu and asked. Mama Qin, I'm fine. It doesn't hurt. Xiao Yunzhu turned around and smiled at Qin Yiru. What an obedient child. Qin Yiru thought to herself. Then, Xiao Yunzhu and the other two pestered Xueying for lollipops. Xueying didn't have any objections when they pestered him for lollipops. But why did they keep calling him Big Brother Wang Heir? Those who didn't know better would think that he was a bastard. Was he really such a bastard? He was the leader of an Hun after all. If word of this got out, TSK. Mom, if Lin Jiahao and his family dare to come here again, don't go easy on them. Yun Jian walked up to Qin Yiru and said. To be honest, Qin Yiru really thought that Lin Jiahao's distant relatives had changed for the better. They even gave her money. To be honest, it didn't matter if Lin Jiahao gave her money or not. Qin Yiru wasn't a greedy person at all. Qin Yiru thought that her distant relatives had changed for the better. That was why she was happy. But this happiness would eventually turn into a bubble. She should be as disappointed as she was looking forward to it at the beginning. At this moment, a military jeep drove into the area. Gu Junjian got out of the car the moment he got out. I just went to the market to buy some barbecue ingredients. I put them in the car. We'll be driving there later anyway. Gu Junjian said as he looked around. Where are they? Gu Junjian asked suspiciously. They're gone. Qin Yiru said. Then she explained everything that happened. I see. Haha, it's good that they're gone. Then these barbecue ingredients are ours. Gu Junjian shouted happily. Then, Gu Junjian went into the house and moved all the barbecue equipment into the military jeep. The jeep led the way, followed by the Lamborghini, followed by the Bugatti Veyron. They drove. The barbecue location have been chosen. Despite the unpleasant episode with Lin Jiahao's family, the group was still happy along the way. Xiao Yunzhu and the other two followed Yun Jian and Ce into the same car. Gu Junjian and Qin Yiru were the only ones left in the military jeep. However, Gu Junjian was not a flirtatious person. Hence, the journey was smooth and there were no hiccups. The barbecue location was by the Nilong River in the countryside. Nilong River was a small stream located in Gua village. There were still a few kilometers of mountain roads from Gua village. Since it was spring, the season for spring outing, the stream of Nilong River was surrounded by trees and boulders. It was a sacred place for barbecue that everyone in Longmen City knew. Therefore, when Gu Junjian parked the car there, he saw many people setting up all sorts of barbecue equipment along the bank of Nilong River. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.